question of the day for you guys and for Adrian. You already know my answer. Is Batman Returns a Christmas movie?
No.
No. Okay. Well, we're going to agree to disagree. What do y'all say? Is Batman Returns a Christmas movie? I don't know. For me, it is. Either way, it was a hell of a ride. It was an enjoyable movie, and I can't wait to watch it again next Christmas. All right. Welcome to another episode of Only Comics. I'm Mike. This is Adrian.
Good morning. Good morning.
And Merry Christmas.
Right.
It's the Christmas edition.
That's it. Finally here, baby. Finally here.
You know you've arrived, dude, when your show has a Christmas episode, right? I mean, some great shows in history have Christmas episodes.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, so now we're up there with them.
Yeah.
So here we are on Christmas. Thank y'all for joining us. Dude, it's feeling like Christmas. It's cold out.
Well, it's cold, but there's no snow yet. But we'll see.
No snow, but I mean, hey, you can't have, but it does, at least it feels like Christmas,
right.
At least for us, if it was like 80 degrees, and some people live in these areas, but I like the cold around Christmas.
Right.
What's not cold though is this show today, Adrian.
That's right.
We got jam-packed show, dude. We have our news. You have your hidden gem, which is I'm not gonna spoil, but I will say it's not a Marvel guy this week.
Right.
You on a Marvel streak, dude.
Well, we'll see about that.
Okay, but you were on one for a while.
Yeah.
And then we have we got a deep dive into a Christmas movie, in the spirit of Christmas, Batman Returns,
Okay.
One of the all-time great Christmas movies. And then we have our King of the Comics movie tournament. So we got a lot of stuff planned today. We're also going to share our personal top 5 favorite Christmas movies.
Okay.
Right? So
Let's do it.
I got my list. And we got to agree to disagree, as always. So it's going to be fun, dude. And if you've never been with us before, buckle up.
Right.
This is, me and Adrian, we're like the dynamic duo of comic podcasting, right? We get together once a week, and we go to battle. We travel through the multiverse of the comic world, of the comic movies, give you our opinions. Sometimes people say that they're hot takes. You ever heard that, Adrian?
I've heard that.
It's, I don't think they're hot takes. They're just our opinions, you know?
There's that.
Well, let's hop into the news, dude. There's a lot of rumors going on this week, and there's a big piece of news. We've talked about Jonathan Majors, Kang, He Who Remains on this show a lot. I was a big fan of his portrayal of He Who Remains. He played Kang in the Ant-Man movie. The Ant-Man movie was just hot garbage. I mean, that's not going to be on anyone's top 5 list of any movie.
Right.
Jonathan Majors, the Kang part of the movie was good, but outside of that, it was a pretty shitty movie. And he's got himself into some legal issues. And it's funny, we've had this in other comic movies. We've had the whole Ezra Miller situation, which I think that was a little different because the movie was filmed already.
Yep.
But if you remember, we talked about this a lot, dude. Ezra was in like none of the marketing. You would thought it was a Michael Keaton Batman movie.
Right.
So Jonathan Majors, the verdict was released this week. He was found guilty on 2 charges. I think it was for one of the assaults and a harassment or something along those lines. But anyway, long story short, that happened and Marvel dropped him. Not really a surprise to anyone, right? I mean, I think that they were probably sitting back and waiting to see the verdict because they did. I guess to their defense, they didn't drop him before this.
Right.
We've seen that before. Someone gets accused of something and then. Every sponsor in the world drops them. But anyway, so he's dropped, and that really puts the MCU in a little odd spot right now because the rumor as of late was that Kang was going to be a major, major part of this next phase. He was going to be basically the Thanos of this multiversal saga, and, removing him, you got 2 options now. One, you could step away from the Kang story entirely and introduce another villain, or you could recast Jonathan Majors, right? If you're Kevin Feige, Adrian, what path are you going down?
I'll just dump him.
Yeah.
Because it's only gonna the character. It would only intertwine them moving down the down the road. So, and that's not something that they want to take a risk on, because if you got that kind of thing coming up, that also means that you endorse that behavior from a production studio perspective.
Sure.
Now, do I think the guy was railroaded? Sure. Right. But their stance is, well, we're wholesome, we're this, we're family, we're so on and so forth. Right. So, I mean, I think for them, they're probably making the right move.
Yeah.
But it's the wrong move.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
You. Now, what about so you're in charge, and now we have two choices. Obviously, Majors is out of the pictures. Yep. We could recast to another actor and still have Kang be part of the story, or would you move away from Kang entirely?
I'd move away from Kang entirely.
Yeah.
It's almost like trying to recast, the Black Panther after Boseman.
Right.
Once you got that actor that solidifies that role, it's kind of hard to just pop somebody else in there, unless time and distance heals all wounds, right?
Sure.
So give it some time. Maybe you can get another, Black Panther, or in this case another Kang.
Right.
But I mean, these guys live in comics, forever. But there's also other villains.
Right.
There's Doom. There's, bring back, there's Galactus, bring it back properly. Yeah. But there's him. I mean, there's
Norman Osborn.
There's Norman Osborn.
I mean, in the movies, he's always been a Spider-Man villain, but, in the comics, he's just a villain. I mean, he's had interactions with the Avengers, with Tony Stark.
Yep.
But, yeah, I agree. And really more for, like, I wouldn't mind a recasting. Like, for example, T'Challa, I would have been okay with a recast.
Right.
If they did it in a respectful way, But this, for me, it's kind of more what you're talking about. There's so many other options for villains. Right. Like, Kang is not that important that we need. Like, I mean, is Kang anyone's favorite villain? Like,
no.
No, he's a cool character, but he ain't top tier. He ain't Dr. Doom level.
Right. I mean, you don't think about Kang or what's the other guy that we saw in Guardians?
High Evolutionary.
High Evolutionary. Yeah. You don't think about these guys when it comes to they don't just pop up top of your head.
Right.
Marvel, DC, they have to pull these characters, out of the closet somewhere and introduce them, to the public. They don't just pop in, on top of your head like the Goblin or Magneto or somebody like that.
Sabretooth. Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's not that important of a character to where they need to stay. Nah. It's kind of like if it was an X-Men series and it was Magneto and that actor got into some trouble. Like that's when I go, dude, you need Magneto.
Yeah, right.
You got to have him.
Yeah.
Right. But this we could, and we said this when we reviewed Loki too. The way that last episode ended, it really set it up for either option.
Right.
Because right now in the storyline, there's no Kang.
Right.
There's no Kang variant that even knows about the TVA. That Loki went back in time, fixed that, so they could move on and act like this never happened.
Right.
Absolutely. So, and I mean, I'd love to see Doom on screen done properly.
Right.
I'd take that over this any day of the week.
Right. Also because I think Doom is more. I mean, besides being a regular human, I mean, he has other attributes other than some otherworldly kind of power, superpower. He's a guy, a brilliant guy, a scientist, dabbles in magic. So he has a lot of things that make him more than just a regular supervillain. Right. So, yeah, I definitely would love to see him, reprise a role in the DC universe.
Yeah.
And just bring it back properly,
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, so you ever watch the show Jack Reacher?
I was watching it last night.
Really? I've never seen it.
I mean, not last night. The other night I was watching it. And, but yeah, the new guy who actually used to play in Smallville as Aquaman, believe it or not.
Alan Richardson?
Yep. He played Aquaman in the Smallville.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. Yep. I mean, he actually does a better job than Tom Cruise.
Okay.
I won't say he does a better job.
Yeah.
He's more of Jack Reacher than Tom Cruise was. Tom Cruise did do a very good job for the role at the time.
Right.
Because nobody had seen Jack Reacher before.
Got it.
But when you compare the two, This guy doesn't. He knocks it out the park.
See, I've never seen it. I've heard about it, and honestly, when your boy Tom Cruise was in there, I'm like, I'm good. But this guy, he also Alan Richardson. I don't even know how you say it. He's also in the show Titans that you talk about a lot. He plays Hawk.
Well, he was in the show.
He was. That's right. He died in the third. Yeah. Spoiler, died in the third season. But he, there's talks of him playing Batman. And that's kind of like, I love fan casting, and when it gets to the level that where the studios and the actors acknowledge it, because that's kind of what happened here. Fans forever have been saying, "Do this guy would be a great Batman," and we know that there's like 27 Batman movies on the table, but there's the Batman series of Robert Pattinson, but this is the DCU Batman that it's going to be called the Batman Brave and the Bold. Your boy Andy Muschietti's going to direct it, unfortunately, but Alan Richardson is rumored to play that Batman, and they asked him about it, and he said that, first of all, they said that Reacher is essentially Batman without a cape. Now, I don't know if you'd agree with that or not.
I would agree with that, actually.
Dude, I'll have to check this thing out then.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
Definitely start with the first season.
Okay.
Definitely start with the first season.
How many seasons do they have now?
This is the second season.
Oh, okay.
I think there's probably only 1 or 2 episodes out right now, maybe.
Oh, so it's still pretty new.
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it drops on Thursdays.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely check it out. Huh?
What platforms is it on?
What platform? I want to say I want to say Amazon, maybe.
Okay.
But I'll check it out.
We're not experts. If it's something else, let us know, dude. We have never claimed to be experts on this show. I love that when people get in the comments like, "These guys know what they're talking about." Yeah, I know. That's the point. But what he said was, Richardson said, with all the rumors flying that I'm supposed to be playing Batman, how can I knock Batman? I would love to play Batman. Batman without a cape is a great analogy, actually. But I mean, Batman has a cave. Reacher doesn't even have a house. So he kind of goes on and makes some jokes. But basically, what he said was like he'd love to be Batman.
Right.
And then they asked him about a confrontation between the two of them, what would happen, and he says that, I mean, Reacher would be harder to go down in a fight, just him and a toothbrush, and Batman be like, damn, he's holding on. It's been 30 minutes, so it would be fun.
Right.
What's your take? Who would win?
Well, definitely Batman.
Yeah.
But
It'd be a tough fight, though?
But it would be a tough fight.
Yeah.
Because Reacher, he doesn't walk around with $8 million worth of gadgets on his belt.
Right.
And the toothbrush analogy is correct.
Yeah.
Because he basically walks around with nothing. Some basic ID and an ATM card.
Yeah.
Because he's going around from town to town, right? And he gets out his pension.
Okay.
From the military, so that's what he kind of lives off of.
Got it.
He's kind of like a vagrant, that walks around,
Really the opposite
wielding
of
justice.
Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he does do the justice wielding stuff, though.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check this thing out. Man.
But I now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, he's almost too big to be a Batman. But the thing about it is that his body, the way he's built, I mean, he's almost like a Superman kind of a build.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a massive guy. I think he's probably
he's huge, dude.
Oh yeah, he's like 6', maybe 6'6".
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
So when you said Tom Cruise, I'm like,
yeah, oh yeah.
My man's 5'2", 180 pounds. This guy's like 6'5", 230. Like, how are they playing the same guy?
No, I think this guy's like probably his balls sit on top of Tom Cruise's head or something. I mean,
Exactly.
he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
Which is why I think he'd be great for Batman.
Yeah.
He's got the look. He's got the whole Bruce Wayne look, the square jaw, the whole deal. But he will be the first Batman that actually fits the mold physically.
Yep.
I mean, Ben Affleck was close.
Right.
Right. Christian Bale was close too. But this dude, I mean, he's bigger than both of those two.
Yeah, he's definitely massive.
Which I'm ready to see. I want to see it because, I mean, I'm a fan of, like, the Jim Lee Batmans in the comic where he looks like a bodybuilder.
Right.
Well, actually, Jim Lee draws him more like a Hulk, but I like that too.
Right.
But this dude, I think, would be great.
Right. And I think if they get the right suit on him, it'll be less stealthy, less padding, and more of this guy.
Right. Which, I mean, we talk about Black Adam a lot in the show, but I remember when the news came out of The Rock trying on the suit for the first time, and he's like, dude, get this fucking padding out of here.
Right.
Because he didn't, and then he wore it like you're talking. It was not a, all padded up suit or whatnot. It fit pretty good, and he looked like the superhero.
Oh, yeah.
It looked legit.
Yep.
versus like this skinny dude with padding everywhere. Kind of like my man Homelander.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like, dude, that's a padded ass suit.
Yep.
Dude.
Yep. Besides the fact that Homelander is like he's like Tom Cruise size.
Yes.
So that's why I always thought the guy would play the perfect Wolverine.
Right.
Because Wolverine isn't a 6 foot guy.
No, he's like
a 5'4", 5'2", something like that. Yep. So I thought that guy would play the perfect.
He's
perfect
like Lil
Wolverine.
Wayne's height.
I wouldn't know.
Is it Lil Wayne playing?
No, don't even say it. Don't even finish the sentence.
Don't give him any ideas.
Don't finish the sentence.
Spider-Man 4 rumors. So this is would be Tom Holland's 4th Spider-Man movie. As far as I know, they've not filmed anything. They're kind of working on it. But there's been a lot of rumors about it recently, and we talked about last week the fact that Kingpin is rumored to play a main villain in this. But they're also saying that this movie is going to be like a street-level Civil War type movie with Spider-Man. They've talked about Daredevil being in this movie. And then another part of this rumor, Adrian, they said that the Spider-Man 4 movie will be, how they word it, they said that it's loosely inspired by the Robert Pattinson Batman movie.
Okay.
And how it's going to show the Spider-Man dealing with the fact that he's always Spider-Man and not Peter Parker. Like almost like how,
Batman, Bruce
in that
Wayne.
movie, there's really no Bruce Wayne.
Right.
That's why, he's an emo guy. Dude, there's really no Bruce Wayne in the movie. He's Batman the entire time. Right. He has a mask on or not.
Yep.
Right. So Spider-Man's going to go through that kind of like identity crisis type thing, which makes sense because this is a Spider-Man who's now alone. Mm-hmm. Everyone forgot who he was, right?
Right.
His, MJ, his boy Ned, all these people who are around him no longer remember him. Mm-hmm. Now doesn't have any connection to the Avengers or Tony Stark anymore. Mm-hmm. Remember how No Way Home finished? He's in this apartment, broke, on his own.
Right.
So it would make sense that he's probably avoiding the fact that he the Peter Parker part of his life because he lost that and just living through the whole Spider-Man deal.
Sure.
So if these rumors are true, I think this movie's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. I'm down with that. And it makes sense. It makes sense logically, and I like when they make the next movie or they take the next step.
Yeah.
And it seems logical.
Right.
From the perspective of what's happened in the past. Now if all of a sudden he comes out and is like a different person, it's a different storyline, right. And it's like, dude, I mean, did you even remember the last movie that was made about this guy? So I'm down with it. I think it'll be pretty cool too.
Yeah. And I'd like to see that type of Spider-Man in the MCU because so far the Spider-Man movies have been really good, but the one thing that's always kind of in the back of your mind is he has this stuff because of Tony Stark. Right. He has all this tech because of Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. And that's not who Spider-Man was early on in the comics. So It's like we never got to see that type of environment or that atmosphere for Tom Holland. I think it'd be great to see finally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Spider-Man that I grew up with, the only tech that he had was his web shooters.
Yeah,
that he made in his bedroom kind of a deal.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was a smart guy,
right.
A very smart guy. But you didn't see a lot of tech around him, and then to make him into this, stealth fighter, it's just like with all the different suits, and the suits can do all this different stuff. Right. I mean, it's just, it's bordering on ridiculous,
Yeah.
So it's actually almost like a setback, but not a setback. Mm-hmm. It's not a Spider-Man version 2. But a rewind to his roots, kind of. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It is. It's almost like a soft reboot in a way,
right.
Where same character, same stuff, but it's like we're now going to move past all this past story of Spider-Man in space and fighting with the Avengers. Now he's now back to your neighborhood Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Living in an apartment by himself with no money.
Right. The kid that everybody, the world around grew to love. Yep. Because he's so relational. Right. And that's what they're getting back to. And I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm all for it, man. Last piece of news. There's a lot of MCU rumors this week. A lot around the X-Men and the mutants, dude, which I think is a good thing. There's rumors that they're moving away from the Avengers for a little bit. Like the X-Men and mutants are going to be a bigger part of this next phase, and the Avengers are not going to be a huge part of it. That's one rumor. There's rumors that there's going to be a reboot after Secret Wars. So now with Kang out of the picture, the rumor is that Secret Wars is going to be a 2-part movie. Okay. There's rumors about a Brotherhood of Mutants film in the works.
Okay.
So, whole Magneto and his squad. And And the other rumor, big rumor, is that there's a movie that's in the early planning stages, and it's an Avengers versus X-Men movie, which is going to be a massive event to the level of like Infinity War, which is a big event in the comics. So all of these, all that being said, dude, I'm looking forward to all of this. I'm a huge X-Men fan, and I was not a big Avengers fan growing up. Like I became a fan of the Avengers because of the MCU. As a kid, I always gravitated towards the X-Men comics, and I'm all for this, dude.
I agree with everything except one thing. That's what solidified my love for comics, the X-Men.
Okay.
That's actually got me introduced to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four was isolated.
Yep.
Their stuff, Reed Richards, was more scientific and out in space and, traversing dimensions and all this other kind of stuff. Iron Man was pretty isolated. But the X-Men introduced you to other teams, other villains. The X-Men introduced me to Alpha Flight, which is a whole other team.
Right.
Introduced me to what's the villain team? Anyway, I'm brain farting here. Yep. But anyway, there was a whole nother villain team.
Yeah.
Magneto and his whole brotherhood.
Yeah, Brotherhood of Mutants.
So they were so dynamic. It was like they were the center of the universe.
Right.
And they introduced you to so many other things. So I'm cool with that. The only thing that I'm not and I agree. The Avengers has had its time.
Yeah.
It's probably 10 years.
Sure.
With all their stuff, right? So it would be cool, but they got to do it right though. They got to do it at the Avengers level.
Right.
So that'd be cool. The only thing I'm not interested in, only because I don't think they could pull it off, is the Avengers versus the X-Men thing. I don't think they'll be able to do that convincingly.
Okay.
Unlike I don't think they'll be able to do it like the Infinity War kind of thing.
Got it. Yeah, that one is, I've read that comic. Actually, I've not read the whole thing though. There's a series. I'm not through all of it, so I'm lying. I did not read that whole comic. But it's a big event. A lot of it's based off of the Phoenix power, and they're kind of fighting over because I think it's Cyclops and Jean's daughter has the power, and they're worried about what's going to happen with it. So the Avengers kind of intervene, and there's some deaths on both sides, but I'm hesitant to say they can't pull it off, but it seems it's huge.
Right.
It's probably, again, Infinity War level or maybe even bigger.
Oh, it would definitely be bigger.
It would have to be.
But then, I mean, they're also beloved.
Yeah.
The team members of, the Avengers and the X-Men. It would almost feel like Star Trek-ish where, when the Captain Kirk goes down to a planet, if some unknown lieutenant that you've never seen on the show before is with Captain Kirk, he's dead.
Yeah.
So that means that instead of killing off like a Wolverine or a Cyclops or Nightcrawler or a Jean Grey, they'll probably bring some kid that just showed up yesterday, and whack them.
Right.
But if they don't, then who do they kill off?
Exactly.
So it would be epic.
Yeah.
Not just big. It would be epic.
I think a lot of it would depend on when is this movie happening, right? Because you have to build to this.
Right.
I think it has to come after Secret Wars.
Okay.
You can't do this before because we've not, unless you're going to, what are you going to use, the old X-Men teams? Like, you're either going to have to build an entirely new X-Men team, or you're going to have to, use the old Fox teams and just hopefully people still care enough about those characters now that they're all in their, like, 50s and 60s, playing teenagers.
Right.
But, I don't know. I mean, it sounds cool. And these are just rumors. And we've had rumors about tons of movies, and they don't always pan out. But the other thing that makes me nervous is these stories like the X-Men versus Avengers, and there's another there's a what the hell is it called, Devil's Reign comic that allegedly they're adapting into that Spider-Man movie, and the Daredevil series is kind of going to be the arc there. But a lot of these stories are coming from the times in the comics where there's a lot of multiverse shit, where there's a lot of different variants of the same character and stuff. And I just fear that it's going to get way too complicated, way too convoluted. Like, it's borderline there now. We've talked about this here.
Right.
And the further they go ahead, it's like the more confusing it's going to be. And you're going to lose the casual viewer, I think.
I mean, you probably lose, the people that are entrenched. Because it's just going to be ridiculous. Yep. It's okay to, like, have an adventure for a movie or two. But then to base everything that you put out on the multiverse, it'll get confusing. It'll get tiring, actually. So I wouldn't be looking forward to that. So I hope they kind of do like a soft reset, not a reboot, but a soft reset, and just bring this stuff back home like they're going to do with Spider-Man, supposedly.
Absolutely, dude. Tone it down. I think, I would assume right now Marvel probably regrets the multiverse a little bit because it's caused a lot of confusion, and I think it's put a lot of people off. And they've also not nailed it yet.
Right.
There's not one move like the Quantumania movie sucked. I mean, they did a good job of managing the multiverse in a show like Loki, but on screen, even Doctor Strange, it was very messy. There was a lot to it. I mean, the next movie that's going to have a big multiverse aspect to is Deadpool 3, and that's the only movie they're coming out with next year. So maybe that kind of brings this all full circle. That's supposed to be a big movie, which I think is going to set up a lot of these rumors that, we're talking about. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's recap the news. Thumbs up, thumbs down. This is where we just go recap all the news articles and rumors we discuss and just simply let you know if we think this is a good rumor or a bad one, right? Okay. And we don't have a buster this week, right? We've kind of been off the buster lately, Adrian.
Right.
We're staying in a positive mindset here on Only Comics.
Keeping with the spirit of the season,
Yeah. Hey, next year, though, we got busters everywhere. We're coming back.
All right.
Andy Muschietti, you're back on the chopping block, dude. Ali Salim, he's still riding that bike off to the sunset.
Yep.
He is gone. Maybe DC will just be the buster every week.
Dude.
All right, we have Alan Richardson confirms interest in playing Batman in the Batman Brave and the Bold. I give that a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Jonathan Majors dropped from the MCU role of Kang. MCU kind of in limbo as to whether they should move on, recast. I give this a thumbs down. It's just all around a shitty situation.
Right. It's just muddy. I agree. Thumbs down.
And it's not just one. I mean, the whole the girlfriend, all the stuff and it's just it's not a good look. I wish it didn't happen.
Right.
But what are you gonna do? The next rumor, Spider-Man 4 turning into a street-level Civil War type of movie with a much more grounded Spider-Man playing almost a Robert Pattinson-esque Batman type of character. I give this a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. I agree. Back to the basics.
Absolutely. And then MCU rumored to have a handful of X-Men and mutant content on the schedule. I.e. the Brotherhood of Mutants movie, X-Men movie, and X-Men vs. Avengers movie. I'm giving this a thumbs up.
I agree. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
It's time to move away from the Avengers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not feeling that Avengers v X-Men thing.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think we can, the X-Men can carry it for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because I think as a team and as characters, the X-Men are much more interesting than the Avengers. Not that Avengers are cool, but dude, X-Men, they're mutants. There's a lot more. There's more of a dynamic there. Like it's their issues really kind of are analogous to a lot of racial issues that we've dealt with in this. So I like if they do it that way and they lean on those same kind of beats that they did in the comics and in the animated series where that was a big piece of it. Like I think it could supersede how popular the Avengers were.
Sure.
There's so many good X-Men stories to pull from.
Right, absolutely.
Well, there's our thumbs up, thumbs down. Now we have your segment, Adrian, Hidden Gem. We've all been waiting for this edition. You've been on a Marvel kick,
right?
So the only spoiler I'm going to give to y'all is this guy's from DC. So we've been accused of not being big fans of DC, which we are. We call a spade here on Only Comics, right?
That's it.
If you put out shitty content, we're going to be ones to tell you.
That's it.
Like, well, how can you guys determine what's shitty? Because this is our show. So to us, that's the big thing. Everyone gets all upset. Like, you guys, you don't even know what you're talking about. Or, if we have a take, they go, you guys are stupid. I'm like, no, it's just our opinion, dude. Right. And this is all made up shit anyway. So it's not about, you're not smarter than me because you think Superman would beat so-and-so. That's just your opinion, dude.
Exactly.
You know who would win, honestly, is whoever the writer wanted to win. Stop. But anyway, Hidden Gem. What you got this week, dude?
All right. Actually, because of the season, I got two.
All right.
And one from Marvel.
Yep.
One from DC. All right, so here we go. The first one is, everybody knows him, but I don't think that everybody understands the depth in the width of this guy, right?
Okay.
So the first one from Marvel.
Yeah. Is this the Christmas one?
This is the Christmas one.
Okay.
This
is
is
what
the
we've been
Christmas
waiting
one,
for
right?
weeks.
This is the Christmas one. This is my man, Saint Nick.
Saint
Fat
Nick.
Man.
Okay.
Santa Claus.
Dude,
right?
I had last night.
You gotta do Santa Claus, man.
Dude.
He came around in Marvel in 1955, dude. He's got many aliases, like I said, Saint Nick, the Fat Man, all these other names and stuff. We kind of like dumb him down a little bit, his power. But Cerebro, so it kind of started with the X-Men. X-Men at the mansion, they putting together, the Christmas tree, Wolverine, Colossus, and all these people, right? When Cerebro goes apeshit, right? It registers at the time the most powerful mutant ever, right? And it turns out to be this dude, right? Santa Claus. Santa Claus, we know, obviously he can, also on Christmas, he can be pretty much everywhere within one night.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's only one of his powers.
Okay.
Okay. So immortality, right? He can fit himself, obviously, into any space, himself and other things, not just himself, right? Because remember, he's got that big bag.
Yeah, he's
right?
Get in the chimney.
Levitate. He can alter his appearance. The two biggest things is that, obviously he has telepathy, the good and the bad thing, right? Good boy, bad boy thing. Teleportation. He can teleport himself. He can teleport other people or objects, right? And the biggest thing is that he's a reality warper. He can literally do that little whole motion with the nose and the winking and all that. He can literally do anything. Santa on a bad day, he can destroy the entire universe and then recreate it all over again. This dude is powerful.
Yeah.
He is the man. Now, besides that, right, his bag, right, when he reaches in his bag, you ever wonder what that was? Tesseract.
Okay.
Tesseract that opens a portal to a storage dimension where he can go and he can reach in and grab whatever he wants.
Got it.
That's why he can
has
move.
Enough toys
exactly,
for everyone. Okay.
Exactly. So, then on top of that, he's got the sleigh, he's got the magic reindeers. The elves are magic. They're almost immortal, right? They're actually descendants of as guardian elves, right?
Yeah.
Some of them have their own powers and everything. So not only is he magic, right? He has all these powers, but he's also surrounded himself with other things and other people that are also as powerful. Yeah. So that's the Christmas one, right?
Dude, I got to pause there. I'm mind blown right now, dude. I did not look up Christmas characters. When you said this, I'm like, I want to be surprised. And then last night I'm watching Batman Returns, and I'm thinking, dude, who's he gonna have as his Christmas hidden gem? And then part of me was like, is there any way like Santa Claus is gonna? I'm like, he's not a kid. Like, no, but I didn't want to look it up because I didn't want to spoil this. And sure shit, it's fucking Santa Claus.
Yep. He's classified as a mutant too.
Dude, he's like Omega level.
Oh, definitely Omega level. Really, reality warping. That's like Richards, Reed Richards' son. Yeah. He can literally do anything. Yeah. Anything. It just so happens that he's a jolly guy. He can do all this kind of stuff. But again, Santa on a bad day is bad for everybody.
I'm gonna change one of my statements on agree to disagree. This is gonna be a good one. I can't even tell you yet. I'm gonna have to, or maybe I'll add one extra. Yep. All right. I'm gonna add a.
Well, while you're doing that, the second one. All right. So DC. It's crazy. It's like we've been on this Marvel trip, right? Because DC, they do such a poor job of making. They have very good iconic figures, right? But they don't have that width of characters that Marvel has, right? So, come to find out, and talking about relationships, like I said, that a lot of characters was introduced to me through the X-Men and so on and so forth. So, this next person is being introduced through one of those DC iconic characters, right? Okay. So who would have known Wonder Woman, that's not the hidden gem, has a twin brother, right?
Never knew that. No.
So Wonder Woman's mother, Hippolyta, right?
Yeah.
When she gave birth to Diana, she actually had twins that night.
Okay.
Right? And because no male can be on Themyscira, they actually took the boy off the island and gave him to a friend to raise. Now, this friend, the reason that he got involved or even got selected was he's actually immortal. He was a regular guy. He was a fisherman, right? It's kind of like the kind of like a Superman, Aquaman kind of a story.
Yeah.
Where, he was raised by some normal person, even though the guy wasn't normal. He was actually immortal.
Okay.
He wasn't like a war god or anything, but he was like a fisherman, but he was immortal, and he had to move around every 100 years or so because obviously, people were like, hey, wasn't you your grandfather? So the warriors of Themyscira gave the Diana's brother Jason. That's what they call him, Jason. He goes by the name Jason Prince or Prince Jason. They gave him to this fisherman to raise.
Okay.
And as he grew, he found out about his powers, so on and so forth. And this guy, what was his name? Glaucus.
Okay.
Glaucus or something like that. That's the guy who raised him, right? He's the immortal with no other talents other than fishing. Okay. He's just a regular guy. Well, so the kid grows up, Jason grows up, and he finds out about his powers, right? And Glaucus just like, Superman's Earth Father. Hey, don't show nobody. Just stay normal. Yep. You're a kid. You want to show everybody, right?
Right.
So he maintains that for a while. At some point, Diana, she learns about the brother at some point, but kind of don't believe it. But then when Hercules, because Darkseid comes and kills Darkseid, or Darkseid's daughter comes and kills Hercules. Yeah. Hercules leaves a will, leaves everything to Diana, and through this letter, she finds out about the brother that she never knew about, but had kind of heard of. Right. Okay. He also leaves a map for her to find him. So she goes and finds him.
Yeah.
They immediately, feel this bond, this brother-sister bond, but he's pissed off because he knows that that's his sister, right? But he's pissed off because she was raised as a princess on this island with all these, all the glamour and all this other kind of stuff, and he was raised by a fisherman in isolation. So he's pissed off about that, right? So he actually sets her up, Wonder Woman, Diana, up to be killed by Darkseid's daughter.
Oh, shit.
So they go into this whole battle and stuff, and eventually they get over it. But he's jealous, pissed off, and all this other kind of stuff. Now, he looks just like her, the male version of her. The black hair with the blue eyes, same kind of power sets. Now they are the son and daughter of Zeus. Zeus going around, screwing everybody.
Yeah, shit,
right?
Man. He don't play.
So he's got kids everywhere.
Yeah.
By the way,
he's like Nick Cannon almost.
Dude, that's low. That's true.
It's true, right? Yeah.
But so Hercules, when he was growing up, Glaucus is Hercules' friend before Darkseid kills him, right? Okay. So he was actually trained as a combatant by Hercules. Yeah. So when he was younger, keeping on the down low and stuff, but has the kind of the same power set, so he can fly, right? Strength. He's not as strong as Wonder Woman. Yeah. But he has near her strength. Okay. He obviously Wonder Woman was actually trained on Themyscira as a warrior. So he also doesn't have her combat skills, even though he has some combat skills. Okay. Because if he wasn't trained by Hercules, he wouldn't have any combat skills. Right. Because he was a fisherman. Yeah. His father, quote unquote, was not a warrior. Right. Yeah. So he can control weather. He can actually turn into like the elements. Like when he was fighting, when Wonder Woman was fighting Darkseid's daughter, he actually turned into a tsunami.
shit.
and crash down on top of Wonder Woman, right? So he can turn into vapor, things like that. He can control the weather.
Yeah.
He can wield lightning.
Who win in a fight, him or his sister?
His sister.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely think because he doesn't have the Wonder Woman has fought like hundreds or thousands of people, including Ares, the god of war himself.
I mean, she still can't beat the X-Men, but we know how y'all feel about that.
right. But definitely she would win in a fight simply because she has the combat experience.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, man, that this guy even existed, and this is one of those. This is a true hidden gem because I had to go digging for this guy.
Yeah.
Right. Because DC not only they do a bad job of propping up their icons, right? They do a bad job of not letting the public know about characters like this guy.
Right.
I mean, his power set is pretty good.
Yeah.
I would probably rate him as like a 8 or 8.5.
Okay.
Now, my man Santa on the Marvel side,
right?
He would be like a 10.
Oh, he's smashed.
Definitely a 10.
Guy.
Oh yeah. But this is one of those characters that they can very easily bring out into pretty much anything.
Right.
He's already got the recognition of being. I mean, who wants to be the brother of somebody else?
Especially Wonder Woman.
Especially Wonder Woman. But
that's being the brother. That's like being Rob Kardashian.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
You got your sisters are up here, dude, and you're the guy who makes socks. Like, come on.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But they can bring this guy out in pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So I'm just surprised that he hasn't, seen more stuff or been, subtly brought out in more things. Crossing into other DC things, coming up on the big screen. I mean, nowhere.
Or even their animated movies. Like this, he sounds like someone that would be perfect for the DC animation movies.
Absolutely.
They do a good job with their Justice League movies and bringing in the side characters. I mean, they did the Justice League Dark. You got your boy Constantine in there.
Right.
That'd be a good story because I feel like in those movies, Batman gets a lot of shine. Aquaman does. He had his Throne of Atlantis movie. Superman's always there, right? Wonder Woman's there, but I feel like she doesn't get she hasn't had a really good arc in those movies.
Right.
This would be a cool little story to add to that.
Right.
Dude, and I was just thinking, Hercules is their dad. I never knew, or Zeus is their father, not Hercules.
Zeus, yep.
Dude, so that means Diana and this kid Jason, they have all kinds of brothers and siblings out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, that family reunion must be crazy.
Well, see, like even Hercules is like their cousin or something like that, right? So, but yeah, Zeus has got impregnated all kinds of women, not just because the women on Themyscira, they're like demigods, right? And so he's not only screwing them, but he's Earth just regular women.
Right.
So he's got kids everywhere.
So he's more like Karl Malone. He's not even Nick Cannon. He's the mailman, bro. He's holy shit. He is not playing,
right?
But
so besides that, he has this spear that was forged by one of the gods. He can make that appear and reappear at will. He was given this armor that was actually made for Diana.
Okay.
But the gods decided to give it to him, which is permanently attached to his body. I guess he can make it appear, reappear as needed. But it makes him, pretty much impregnable, impenetrable, impregnable. Probably not a good word to use here. So he has like a lot of. So besides the power set, right, which I think like his ability to change into other elements and wield like the weather. I mean that makes him kind of more powerful than Diana.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that Diana has over him is the combat experience.
Gotcha.
Right. So he's kind of like, the armor also gives him the ability to recreate in himself the power of any of the gods of the pantheon. So he can have the strength of Hercules, the wisdom of whoever, the speed of Hermes, all of this stuff. So, I mean, somebody like that, it's almost like he's too powerful to bring out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're bringing out people like, the Supermans and the Aquamans and stuff like that. They could showcase this kid, So that's my guy for this week. Okay. And as I'm going down this trail, I'm seeing, other DC characters that I can probably pull up to.
Okay.
So I'll probably be on DC a little bit more, but I was just
DC
surprised.
streak?
Well, not necessarily a DC streak, but we can definitely pull out more than we have. Yeah. Only because you gotta like, like a hacker, you gotta like break into into DC's vault of characters and find some gem and then pull it out, because they're not being being forthcoming with their character. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, no, this was a good one, dude. This was definitely up there. And if you like either one of these, I mean, how could you not like Santa Claus, right?
Right.
But check out the Hidden Gem playlist to see a laundry list of past hidden gems that Adrian supplied us here on Only Comics. So good work, dude. I'm liking this.
Yep.
I'm just, you are educated here on Only Comics. Because I learned today that Santa Claus is a superhero.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes more sense how he's able to do all that in one night.
Right.
I always wondered about that. Like, I just had chalked it up to magic, but he's got special powers, and he's an Omega level mutant that was created by Cerebro. Cerebro. Right. Well, there you have it for our hidden gem. Next up, we got my segment here called Agree to Disagree. This is where I rapid fire 10 of my opinions. These are opinions at Adrian. And Adrian, you just let me know if you agree or disagree. But when the real fun starts, dude, is when you all let us know if you agree to disagree.
That's right.
Because a lot of times you don't, and you accuse us of having hot takes, but these are just my opinions, dude. Not saying I'm right. I'm right to me, right? So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Now, I'm going to give you a little spoiler, Adrian. There's going to be a lot of Batman Returns reference in here for the Christmas season, dude, obviously. So, number one, Batman Returns is better than Iron Man 3.
Agree.
Santa Claus would defeat Superman.
Agree. Is that what the change?
They're going to love that one. The Batman is better than Batman Returns.
Disagree.
Batman Returns is better than The Matrix.
Wow. Agree for what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a shock. Marvel should just move on from the Kane character.
Agree.
Hulk would beat Superman.
Disagree.
Robert Pattinson's Batman would defeat Michael Keaton's Batman.
Agree.
Edward would defeat Beetlejuice.
Disagree.
Wanda deserves an MCU movie.
Agree.
Coquito is better than eggnog.
Agree.
And telling a friend about Only Comics is a great Christmas gift.
Absolutely. Agree.
There you have it. So wait, let's check out one of the disagrees. You said Edward would not defeat Beetlejuice?
No, but Beetlejuice was magic. He was evil. I mean, Edward was just a vampire. There's all. First of all, just take him out in daylight. Just keep it simplified. Okay. Just take him out in daylight.
Right.
Even though Edward wasn't affected by daylight as traditional vampires, right? He would just sparkle. But he does have other weaknesses. And I'm sure Beetlejuice would explore them. So yeah. I think it would be a simple thing.
I got you.
Also because Edward was kind of, a wimp.
He was.
And Beetlejuice was a dick.
Yeah.
And so you got that going for him too.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm probably more 50-50 on it now. And we change our takes sometimes here, dude. We will flip flop. I don't have my heels dug in, dude. But anyways, well, that's our agree to disagree. Now you let us know if you agree or disagree with us. Where are we gonna go next? We have, let's do our Christmas movies.
All right.
In the spirit of Christmas. Today's Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone, if that's what you celebrate. If you don't, happy holidays, whatever one you do celebrate. Here we're talking Christmas. So we put together a list of our top 5 personal favorite. We're not saying these are the best movies in the world. We're not, Siskel and Ebert over here, or whoever it is now. But these
are those dudes.
One of them's dead. Yeah, I think Siskel has been dead for years.
Okay.
And Ebert still does his deal, or it could be vice versa. But anyway, I can tell you what Mike and Adrian are going to say today. So these are I got my 5, and we'll go back and forth. We'll start at number 5. My number 5 favorite Christmas movie of all time is A Christmas Story.
Okay.
What's yours?
My number 5, out of all of them, I would say is Bad Santa.
Okay. That's a great movie, by the way. That's actually, it's on my list too. So,
Gotcha.
We'll talk about it when we get to there. But Christmas Story, it's just your classic. The whole. I love when he beats the kid's ass. I love the scene with the tongue on the freaking pole. The Red Rider, you'll shoot your eye. I mean, it's just a classic Christmas movie, and it plays. I mean, it's on right now. It's on all day on Christmas. My number 4 is a movie we're gonna do a deep dive into a little bit later. Batman Returns.
Okay.
What about you?
My number 4, Die Hard.
Die Hard, okay.
Yep.
All right. I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Yeah. That's
dude,
crazy.
You're a traitor, dude. I mean, you got to watch the movie. I mean, if you watch Batman, I mean, you picked out Iron Man as a Christmas movie.
True.
You got to watch Die Hard, dude. You got to watch Die Hard.
Yeah, and yeah, man. One of these Christmases, I will. My number 3 was your number 5, Bad Santa. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies to watch during Christmas. I mean, Billy Bob Thornton is a dick. He's the biggest asshole in the world, and it is hysterical.
It is. I mean,
a lot of shit that you can't say anymore, a lot of shit that would offend a lot of people, but it's all in good fun, good humor. And it has we talked about this with Iron Man 3. Like, why is it a Christmas movie? And I joke because, hey, if Christmas is in a movie, to me, you could call it a Christmas movie, right? But there's also that dynamic between Tony and the kid Harley, where it's your typical Christmas movie type of issue, right? Like, or they're kind of at odds. Tony's in this situation he don't want to be in, and then they connect and they share a little bit of a bond. And I think you get that in Bad Santa too, right? With Billy Bob Thornton, and then the kid Thurman Merman is the fucking kid's name of all names, right? But he's literally using this kid for the house, and then eventually they build this little bond, and he gets some. I mean, he even gets him the pink elephant and all that shit. Like, it's hysterical, dude.
Right.
Do you have is there a favorite scene of that movie?
No, I just Billy Bob Thornton being such a dick.
Yeah.
It just the whole showing up at the mall.
All
like
drunk.
it's just all drunk. It's like, dude, really? I mean, when that movie came out, to me, that was like kind of like one of those iconic. It's like The Matrix almost.
Yeah,
it set the tone for the movies after that.
Right.
So that's what I loved about it the most.
Yeah. And you had Bernie Mac in it.
Right.
I mean, he played a great role. Like, dude, it was hysterical when the kid makes the wooden pickle, and all of a sudden you hear, oh, he's just straight, he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I cut myself, and then he gives it to him on Christmas. He's like, what is it? It's a wooden pickle. Why is it all brown? It's like, cut myself making it. Like, dude, it's hysterical. Oh man, and then the freaking advent calendar when he eats all the shit in the advent calendar. But yeah, it's dude, it's a great one. It makes me actually want to go home and watch it, to be honest.
Right.
So that was my number 3. What's your number 3?
I'm gonna go with my man Nick Cage, a Family Man.
Okay.
It's kind of a sappy movie, but I found that, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
Yep.
So I thought it was pretty cool.
Got it. And I just want to recap. You said Bad Santa. What was your number 4? Oh,
Die
Die
Hard.
Hard. All right. And now we are on my number 2. Favorite Christmas movie of all time is Home Alone.
Home Alone.
The first one. The OG one. Not a fan?
I always hated that dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was entertaining, but I would take the Gremlins, even though that's not on my list.
That's a good
I would take the
Christmas
Gremlin over any of the Home Alones.
Really?
Right.
Wow. I love the first. The second one's fun, but I absolutely love the first one. But I was like, probably when this movie come out, early 90s, I was like 10 years old maybe.
Right.
So I was like, I wanted to be Macaulay Culkin. I'm like, I want to be Home Alone and fuck with some burglars like this. I even had the little walkie-talkie thing from the second movie where it did not work anything like it worked in the movie. It was a piece of shit.
Right.
Yep. So if you're nostalgic and you want to buy one, don't. It's a waste of your time and money. But Home Alone's my number 2. It's all time. I think that's the movie I watch every Christmas. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is It's a Wonderful Life. Old black and white movie.
Wow.
So you got to imagine, when I grew up, I didn't have too many choices as to what I could watch anyway.
Right.
One of us had antenna duty just to get the 3 channels to show up on the TV.
Yep.
The little TV on top of the big TV.
Of course. You never get rid of the broken TV. You just
exactly.
stack 'em up.
Just stack them up.
Yep.
So in between my antenna duty, we were the remote controls. Right?
Yes. Yep.
So we only had a few movies that we could watch. And It's a Wonderful Life was that movie back then.
Gotcha.
I love the movie. Still watch it almost every Christmas.
Wow.
And it's
That's
like
one I've never seen either.
Man, I'm about to walk off this show, dude. How do you not watch It's a Wonderful Life?
I'm like 15 years younger? I missed this part. I missed that whole section.
I give you that. I give you that.
I was watching Home Alone, dude, while you're at the same age you were watching A Wonderful Life. Yeah.
That's right. And you had more options than I did. So, I mean, I can understand. I'll stay on the show.
But, okay. Now... Oh, wait, look at a little drum roll here. This is number one. Number one Christmas movie for me of all time is Elf. I love me some Elf, dude. That's a movie I watch even when it's not Christmas time.
Wow, that's definitely a youth thing.
Yeah.
And my number one is definitely an older guy's thing.
Okay.
Which is Miracle on 34th Street.
Okay. Dude, you're going to drop out of your chair. I've never seen that one either.
Wow.
Every time I think about watching it, I look at when it was created, and I'm like, I don't even want that to touch my eyes right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got to watch the color one though.
Okay.
Yeah. The black and white one is cool, but the color one is where it's
I don't want to see shit in black and white, dude. I'm good. No, when I'm 85 and going blind, I'll see shit in black and white. Right now,
yeah. You still be watching Home Alone.
I will still be watching Elf when I'm 85 in a nursing home. And I'll be hitting my wife laughing, and she won't even know who I am. So
exactly.
But yeah, I will definitely.
But dude, have you seen like older movies now? It's like you watch movies from the '80s, and you can barely even. It's like how do we even watch this shit back then, dude? The movie is so blurry and so it's like crazy. I mean, I don't want to see the 4K movies. I don't want to see the pores, the sweat dripping out of people's pores. But man, that stuff, it's crazy now.
Yeah, a lot of that shit is not aged well, dude. And it's hard because there are some, or I'm sure there are some really good movies from that era. But dude, I go to put them on, I'm like, I can't do this, man. It's like I'm streaming on freaking dial-up internet or something. Can't do it. But so there you have it. Your number one was Miracle. So let's go through our list real quick, Adrian. Here's my top 5 Christmas movies, starting with number 5, A Christmas Story, Batman Returns, Bad Santa, Home Alone, and number 1 is Elf.
Okay. Mine are starting at number 5, Bad Santa, Die Hard, Family Man with my man Nick Cage, It's a Wonderful Life, and Miracle on 34th Street.
There you have it.
Now, I'm gonna throw one at you.
Okay.
Let's do an honorable mention.
All right.
What would be an honorable mention movie for you?
Honorable mention movie: 8 Crazy Nights, Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah.
I love that movie. It's an animated movie. You ever seen it?
I have not.
Now, see, Christmas. That's more of a Hanukkah movie because Adam Sandler's Jewish and it plays off of both. But it is hysterical. It's in the realm. It's an adult-ish movie. It's in the realm of Bad Santa.
Gotcha. Mine would be Bad Moms. Kind of like the Bad Santa, but Bad Moms.
That's a Christmas movie?
Christmas Enough. They steal a tree or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, using my role. Oh, I have seen that movie. It is good, and I don't remember the Christmas part.
And the stripper, they had the whole Santa Claus stripper thing going on. So, but that movie is hysterical.
Yeah.
Dude. I watched that too.
I got to rewatch that. I've only seen that once, but. Well, there you have it, our list. Since we're talking movies, we're going to slide right into King of the Comic Movies Tournament, Adrian. We got some big matchups this week.
All right.
We're kind of through all the malarkey, as they say. They used to say that back in your day, right? You've heard that a few times, or no? Or was that before your time, too?
No. Maybe on the other side of the tracks, but not on my side of the tracks. They didn't say that. Malarkey. What is that, dude?
Yeah, it's like shenanigans almost.
They didn't say that either.
No. I don't even know how I know it because they didn't say it where I grew up, but I am more akin to those folks that say those things.
There you go.
If that's what you're getting at. A lot of mayonnaise, a lot of raisins, and potato salad.
Right. Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper galore. Nothing else, though. Oh, put that adobo back. What are you doing? Anyway. All right. King of Comic Movie Tournament. This is round 4. We have The Avengers, the first Avengers movie, up against Avengers Endgame. Ooh. This is before I give my take, like you got the beginning and the end, right?
Right.
The first Avengers movie at the time still is looked back as a major accomplishment.
Right.
There was no cinematic universes before that. You had Iron Man 1 and 2 was already released. Captain America 1 was released. The Incredible Hulk was released and the first Thor movie. So you had 5 MCU movies, and then they brought all these characters together for the Avengers. A lot of people said it wouldn't work. A lot of people said that's too many characters in one movie. How are you going to manage that? Blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, Marvel, Joss Whedon, those guys did a great job, pulled it together, and it holds up to this day. Mm-hmm. You talk about watching old movies. Now, this is, 10, 15 years old.
Right.
But, dude, it holds up. Great movie. Mm-hmm. That fight in New York is still one of the highlights of the MCU. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be a cool show too, like to rank maybe our top 10 kind of MCU moments, like scenes, because that would be up there, dude. I mean, dude, and it also led to a lot of things. I mean, the whole Loki series kind of was partly due to these 2 movies, right? So you have that. Then you have Endgame, which wrapped up, a 10+ year journey. Mm-hmm. All kinds of movies tied into one, and they did a great job of managing all these different storylines.
Yep.
And Endgame, I've shared that I think Infinity War is a better movie than Endgame, and I think a lot of people agree with that. But Endgame has some big moments that are untouched. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, the going back in time stuff was great. Mm-hmm. I mean, Fat Thor, as much as I think it started the downfall for that character, it was entertaining there. It made sense.
Right.
And then that end battle, dude. There's not many scenes in movies general that rank as high as that end battle in the end game. At the Avengers campus, the portals opening up, Thanos. I mean, you get everything. You get the Avengers Assemble moment. You get Cap wielding Mjolnir. You get the snap. I mean, there's so much there.
Right.
So this one's tough, dude. What about you? Any thoughts on before we give our takes on these 2 movies?
I agree with all that. But I am ready to give my take, though. I'm going to go with the first Avengers.
Okay.
Because it was iconic. It set the pace. Yep. Because after you've seen a savage fight, any savage fight after that is just another savage fight. But when you first introduced to it, right, it's like, oh, my God, it's polarizing.
Yeah.
Right? It's paralyzing. It's, you have all these emotions and stuff. And that's what the first Avengers did. So it just set the pace for Endgame. Endgame had a lot of, great scenes in it.
Yeah.
But it was just a bigger version of the first Avengers.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to go with the first Avengers.
All right. Let me ask you this. If you could only watch one of these movies, like you had a chance to watch one more movie, you had to pick from the Avengers or the Endgame, and after that you couldn't watch either one again, which one would you pick?
I'd pick Endgame because it's a summation of everything.
Makes sense.
But the better, I would go with the first one.
Yeah. This is hard because I hear you. And I do think as a movie, right, forget about the moments, the impact. As a movie, The Avengers is a better movie.
Right.
I grabbed the coin because I was going to flip, but I just talked myself into it. Endgame has better moments, but as a movie, as a whole movie, I think The Avengers is a better movie.
Yep.
That was painful. All right. It's going to be a tough round. It's going to get harder every week.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of, right here, we have Captain America Civil War, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yep.
And then we have X2, also one of my all-time favorite movies.
Cap Civil War.
You're on Cap Civil War. You're not an X2 fan?
I'm just not a fan of how they did really any of the X movies. They just missed it. Yeah. Every time. You know, it's almost like how they portray Galactus. Yeah. It's kind of like that level of thing. It's not the Eternals,
right?
Of course.
Oh yeah, God,
but
no.
They just didn't portray the X-Men. They have not portrayed the X-Men. To the level that I would say, okay, I can deal with this.
Got it.
It just wasn't there.
See, I love this movie X2. The whole you had Wolverine's kind of origin. This is still the Wolverine that doesn't know his past, and he's trying to seek out who he is. Stryker attacks the X Mansion. They kidnap Xavier. They build their own Cerebro, and the whole he's going to kill all the mutants. He's going to kill all the humans. Like I thought this was great, but. Dude, Civil War is they managed so many characters in that movie so well, and the dynamic or the dilemma between or the riff, I guess, between the Avengers was very impactful. This is why, I didn't say this earlier, but if they do an X-Men versus Avengers, they need to bring the Russo brothers back,
right? Oh, absolutely,
because they proved that they could handle this.
Right.
So, as much as this is hard. I'm going to agree Civil War because it going back to my original statement I made about the Avengers. It is a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think Civil War has better moments too.
Right.
I mean, they introduced T'Challa, they introduced Peter Parker,
Mm-hmm.
they bring Falcon into this, they bring Ant-Man, all these characters, and they do such a good job of juggling it.
Right.
Baron Zemo, or Zemo, right?
Zemo.
Who I think is a great character. We just got to see more of him in the Cap series.
Right.
Yep, so I agree.
Yeah. I mean, they did such a good job of making something complex digestible.
Yes.
And I love that.
Which is what they're missing now.
Which is what they're missing now.
Yep.
And what they have been missing, like with the X-Men, which is why.
Yep.
I mean, I love the X-Men, but they just haven't. And, please don't bring back, what's her face, Halle Berry as Storm. I'm just saying.
Speaking of Halle Berry as Storm, we have X-Men: The Last Stand. So probably one of the worst X-Men movies ever. How did that? You picked that over Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
And we flipped the coin, and that was one you actually won last week.
Yeah.
That was where you broke your streak.
Right.
So X-Men: The Last Stand up against Infinity War. I mean,
Infinity War.
Yeah, like obviously. Infinity War. I mean that's next round's going to be even harder, Adrian. Ooh, speaking of Logan versus Spider-Man: No Way Home. That one. I mean, Spider-Man: No Way Home is the end game of the Spider-Man movies, right? I mean, we get to see all three classic Spider-Man back, all kinds of classic villains, but then Logan, rated R, one of the first rated R comic movies to that level. The end of Hugh Jackman's that version of Wolverine. Obviously, we know he's coming back now. Man,
but they can get away with it because he played an older Logan.
Oh yeah, that one don't bother me.
I'm gonna go with Logan.
Man, I think.
So let me talk you into it.
Yeah, go ahead. While I'm still
because it's gritty. I don't like the Garfield version of the Spider-Man under any circumstance.
Really? I do.
I would skip him all the way, even though he fit the profile of Spider-Man more than the other two because the other two were shorter.
Yeah.
Peter Parker is actually like a lanky kind of a kid.
Right, and Garfield's tall and lanky.
Yeah. So in that aspect, that made sense.
Yeah.
But I just didn't feel him as Spider-Man.
Okay.
But Logan was gritty. Introduced his daughter, which she kicked ass in that movie.
Yeah, she did.
I like the storyline that the thing that made Wolverine most of what he is, besides his rage and the claws, the adamantium was killing him. Right. Then he actually dies in the end.
Yeah.
I like the way they killed him off. I mean, what's better than a whole tree trunk through the body, right?
Right.
So that was kick ass.
Yeah.
What I didn't like was Xavier, being, his mind basically, eating himself, his mind eating his own mind up.
You didn't like that because it didn't make sense, or you mean you didn't like because it was the emotional aspect about it?
The emotional aspect of it, it absolutely made sense that your power is now turning on you. So from that, just like Wolverine. His power was turning on him, so that made absolutely sense. But that was because these guys, for me, these guys have been around, 40 something years.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't like to see like the Nick Fury. I don't like to see that weakness after seeing them so kick ass for so many decades. I don't like to see that weakness. So but it made sense. So
it did. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about Logan, and as I'm thinking through No Way Home. I mean, this was, you got Norman Osborn coming back from another universe. You got Doc Ock showing up. Jamie Foxx, Electro, actually sees justice, like it's done properly. You get Sandman back in there. I mean, Lizard. You almost have the Sinister Six there.
Right.
3 different Spider-Men. I think the dynamic between the Peter Parker and the Spider-Man character was handled great. The end fight with the 3 Spider-Man, the Statue of Liberty deal, that was amazing.
Yep.
And it has what's funny that these two are going up against each other. They both have a very emotional ending. Spider-Man in a different way. He didn't die, but he lost everything. And it's almost like, I don't know which one hits you harder, because the Logan one, you're attached to this character, you've seen him for years, and the dynamic with the daughter, who in the beginning became, she ain't my daughter, and then it became like, oh, she is my daughter. Like they bonded, and then she lost him. She called him daddy. Like, you know, as a father with daughters, dude, I was like getting, you know, eyes sweaty in the theaters for that one.
I like that, eyes sweaty.
Yeah, dude, they were sweating, you know. And then, but No Way Home, very emotional too. Like the last scene when he goes into the coffee shop, and he's like, he knows they don't remember him, but he's hoping. And there's that awkward moment, and she's just kind of like, "Hey, can I help you?" Like, and then to see him kind of walk away so defeated, but can't do or say anything about it.
Right.
He was helpless.
Yep.
But it was so Peter Parker, right? Yep. But that being said, I'm gonna go with Logan.
Okay.
Because of the grittier, and I think it was emotionally heavy in a different way. And I think it was the better movie. I do. But dude, we're talking like
not by much.
No,
definitely not by much.
Like this could have been the final round, you know. But there you have it, Logan. So that is round 4 on the left side of our bracket. Now we have the Batman up against Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I'm going with the Batman.
Agree, Batman.
Good old Robert Pattinson, or Battinson as the internet calls him, Adrian. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Bedward.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 up against 300.
300.
I'm going Guardians.
Okay.
300's amazing, but I Guardians, so we're going to flip. Call it in the air, Adrian.
Yep. Heads.
You're on a streak, dude. You are on a streak. You had that losing streak for that was 2 weeks ago, though.
Yeah.
You put that past you, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was severe, though. That was
bad,
severe.
Yeah.
0-7, that's severe.
Yeah. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse versus Deadpool. This is another one, man. Wow.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, if we're going better movie, I think I have to agree. I mean,
Deadpool was cool.
It's amazing.
I mean, it was some scenes in it, and also it was like a recovery moment for what's his face, Ryan Reynolds, because man, Green Lantern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only
we should never repeat that movie again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was definitely restitution for him.
Absolutely. And redemption for the Deadpool character, because in the X-Men Origin movie, Wolverine, remember that version of Deadpool we got?
Yeah.
Also played by Ryan Reynolds. Wade Wilson in the movie was great up until the end when they decided to literally dude, how much of a slap in the face is that to comic fans? Deadpool is known for his mouth.
Right.
And when we finally get to see a Deadpool version of a character in the film, you sew his fucking mouth shut. Dude, if that's not a fuck you to the fans, I don't know what is. Man, Spider-Verse, Deadpool. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse, great movie. I'm gonna go Deadpool.
Okay.
I think if it was across the Spider-Verse, it'd be no doubt. I mean, Into Spider-Verse is great, but Deadpool for me, I mean, it changed what you could do. But they both did. It's funny they both changed what you could do with a comic movie.
Yep.
So call it in the air.
Heads.
And I also want to see. Oh, you son of a bitch, dude! Something's up with this coin. Coin has a life of its own. It has a mind of its own, dude. All right.
Well, if we get up to 0-7, then you'll know how I feel. But until then, you got a long ways to go.
I can't say anything. All right, the last battle of the week, Adrian. Batman Begins. Your boy, Christian Bale, your all-time favorite Batman, up against Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Batman Begins is great, but, I mean, Across the Spider-Verse is – that's that one, I think that could make a run to the finals, too.
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse. I mean, that's up there. So here's what we got next week. Actually, let's recap real quick because we've been going all over the place. The first battle was the Avengers versus the Avengers Endgame. We chose the Avengers. Civil War versus X2. Civil War won that. Infinity War versus The Last Stand. Infinity War demolished The Last Stand. Logan versus No Way Home. Logan won that. The Batman versus Turtles Mutant Mayhem. The Batman won that. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 versus 300. 300 won that battle. Into the Spider-Verse against Deadpool. Into the Spider-Verse won that battle. Batman Begins versus Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse moved on. So that's our recap we do. So next week we have, this will be round 5, the Avengers versus Civil War, Infinity War versus Logan. This is our final 4 next week. The Batman versus 300, and then Into the Spider-Verse versus Across the Spider-Verse. Oh boy! Oh, we got action. We have some fun next week, dude. Right. So this has been fun. I actually think this was more fun than the character one.
Yeah,
the movies. Yeah. So we'll not wrap this up. We'll hit the final 4 next week. Up next, Adrian, we have our final segment of the week, our deep dive into one of the best Christmas movies of all time, if you're using my definition. So first, let us know, what is a Christmas movie to you? For me, Adrian, it is if Christmas takes place in the movie in more than just like one scene. Like you can't be like, hey, buy me this for Christmas. Like that's not a Christmas movie.
Okay.
You drove by one Christmas tree. It's not a Christmas movie. But movies that have a Christmas theme to them, where if there's Christmas music in the movie, if there's Christmas lights in multiple scenes, if Christmas takes place in the movie, it's a Christmas movie.
Okay.
What's your take on that?
It's definitely got to be the scene. I mean, the scenery has to do it. The attitude about they can't just slip through a universe and the universe has Christmas in it. That's not a Christmas movie, right? So, I mean, like Die Hard. I mean, Bad Mom. I mean, Bad Santa.
Yep.
I mean, all those to me are Christmas movies.
Yep.
So, this doesn't necessarily have to have snow.
Okay.
But snow would be good.
Plus, yeah.
Right? So those things make it Christmas movies to me. Iron Man, I mean, you convinced me, but
I convinced you, you were on the fence.
I was on the fence.
Yeah, but like I guess the main point for me is it doesn't have the theme of the movie doesn't have to be based on Christmas, right? Like Batman Returns. I mean, nothing about their interactions like has anything to do with Christmas. It just takes place during Christmas. But there's so much Christmas in the movie. Like I always talk about, the chick died on the Christmas tree, bro. It's a Christmas movie, right? But they all don't need, like, they don't have to have a Christmas plot like Elf or like, Bad Santa. Right. So what do y'all say? What's a Christmas movie to you? To me, Batman Returns is one. So I guess following your rules, without me convincing you, would Batman Returns fall under your scale of a Christmas movie?
I mean, I guess. I mean,
it's close.
I don't look for Christmas. I don't look for holidays in the movies.
Yep.
I guess is why I'm struggling with a lot of Christmas movies. I look for the action. I mean, when Batman Returns came out, it was like, it was kind of iconic.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking back now, based on the millions of Batmans that have come after that,
right,
it's kind of like silly.
Yep.
It's kind of like watching the Batman from like the 60s.
It did feel like that at times.
Which actually I would prefer to watch, those shows versus Batman Begins.
Okay.
So I don't really see it as a Christmas movie, but I mean, I guess.
All right, but under your scale, not really.
Yeah.
So I watch this movie all the time. And now partly because, dude, this thing came out in 92. First one came out in 89, so 3 years later this one drops. And dude, I was like 6 or 7 years old. I loved this movie when it came out. Right. I was a huge Batman fan. And as a kid, this movie is a little dark, right? Like it has, now as an adult, I watch it and I go, oh, this is Tim Burton, like all the way. Right. I love that it has so much Tim Burton to it. But as a whole, this is not really Batman.
No.
Like, and I say that I shouldn't say that. It's a very different take on Batman. It's kind of like one of those Elseworld comics, like where it's not the it ain't main continuity Batman.
Right.
This is kind of an obscure, because there's a lot of supernatural in this movie. I mean, Catwoman's basically undead, right?
Right.
As a kid, I didn't understand it, but he threw her out the window. She died. And then she came back to life.
Right.
And now she has 9 lives. Penguin actually has some kind of penguin mutation to him. Like, there's a lot of things that they're not comic accurate, but it worked in this movie. And
Penguin in this movie was nasty, man.
Yeah, he was.
Eating the fish and stuff. I mean, that was like Danny DeVito did a real good job on that. But I mean, and to me that's Penguin.
Yeah.
But they portrayed him like nasty, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very different take. And knowing that, I mean, this is one where, you know, there's fans that get upset if things are not comic accurate.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, as long as it's a good movie, it's a good movie, you know?
Well, I kind of agree with them,
Yeah.
you know, about the accuracy. It doesn't have to be spot on,
Yeah.
but it has to have the essence of the character in mind. It can't be like they changed Namor, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Okay.
You know, the only reason that I actually like the Aquaman portrayal by Jason Momoa is because he did such a good job, and Aquaman was nothing.
Yeah.
In any comic book world, I mean, he was.
So it kind of depends on the character.
It depends on the character.
Got it.
So you know, if they go, but and the reason that I like the Jason Momoa version, not because it's Jason Momoa, is because they actually portrayed Aquaman the way he's supposed to be portrayed.
Right.
Aquaman is like the underwater version of Superman.
Yeah.
You know, not some guy swimming around with, you know, his little feet moving like that and, you know, talking to some fish every once in a while.
Yeah.
This dude was awesome, but they just never gave him justice, right? So if they go too far out of the character, that's when, you know, it's kind of upsetting.
And do you feel like mainly with the top three in here, Batman, Catwoman, Penguin, do you think they captured the essence enough, even though they're a little different than the comic versions?
Yeah. It was definitely an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
I actually liked Michelle Pfeiffer's version of Catwoman out of all the women that have played Catwoman.
She killed it, dude.
And I liked the way Danny DeVito did Penguin. I think Penguin stole the show.
Yeah.
Never big fan of Michael Keaton playing Batman. So I think to me it was Penguin, Catwoman, Batman.
Yeah, his and I would say I would probably just flip Penguin and Catwoman, but do the same. Batman or Michael Keaton's Batman has not aged well.
No,
it's every time I watch it, it's more goofy and more out of place. And his Bruce Wayne is horrible.
Yeah,
like that. He's not Bruce Wayne.
No,
he's a small guy. Like, dude, Alfred's almost bigger than him.
Right.
That's odd to me.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't need to be The Rock, but holy shit, dude.
Batman and Superman and they've obviously traded costumes.
Yeah.
I mean, Superman played Batman in his absence once.
Right.
I mean, people saw like a little difference, but it wasn't that big. It wasn't like, oh my God.
Yeah,
it wasn't like
exactly.
that. You know, they was like, oh,
dude, you've been eating a lot.
You've been working out or something like that.
Right.
But you know, Bruce Wayne's a big dude. He's like 6'something", right?
Yeah.
And
No, you got Alfred towering over Michael
right.
Keaton, you know, like what?
Sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking down on top of his head.
Just get Alfred the fucking suit, dude.
Exactly.
But this movie, so now you don't watch this movie often, right?
No.
It's the first time you've seen it in a while?
Nah, yeah.
So, you know, it starts off with very Tim Burton-esque with the music, the darkness. You get the kind of, you know, these wealthy socialites, as they call them. They had a baby who was deformed, I guess, and they just dumped him in the sewers, right?
Right. Very 300-ish, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want this kid. Let's try again. Let's try another one. Let's get rid of this one. Wow. It's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street when he's talking about the kids. You know, if they come out like that, we just drive to a nice hill somewhere and just go, be free. Be free, kid. So they did that here. He gets adopted by a family of penguins.
Of course.
Naturally, right? And they have a really nice setup down, in the sewer. Like, it looks like an old like aquarium you go to or whatnot. They do the dolphin show or the sea lion show. But then we see that opening scene again, really Tim Burton-esque, really dark, kind of creepy music, and then 33 years later, we wake up in Christmas. There's a character in this movie that I don't think is in the comics anywhere, Max Schreck.
Yeah, I never heard of him.
Who's played by what's my man's name, Christopher Walken, which I thought did a great job. I like that his version of that character. And he's basically like a lot of Batman stories. He's a business guy who's up to no good, right? He's building this power plant that according to everyone who knows anything about Gotham in this movie, Gotham has a power surplus. So this dude Max wants to build his own power plant to really, I guess, steal the power. I mean, it's a goofy kind of plot. You mentioned the Adam West, the 60s Batman.
Right.
It does feel like similar to those types of stories, right? Where it's just some wacky shit. Like this dude wants to create a power plant to steal power, and that's like the big issue, like, okay. But I think like because of Tim Burton's just creative mind and what he did with these characters. It took a kind of basic plot, kind of goofy plot, and made it a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, but then back then, I mean, you really didn't have the Hulk, the Iron Man, all these other movies to compare it to.
Right.
I mean, it was kind of like, the first of.
Yeah. So all you really had was like the Superman movies.
Right. It's like you kind of like you're now introducing these people, these characters, to the public on the big screen.
Right. So
they had leeway to kind of fumble a little bit, not stay true. I mean, they really fumbled with George Clooney, but so they had a little leeway. So, but if you look back on it now, it does seem silly. But Tim Burton did do a really good job of making this Batman the best Batman for that time.
Absolutely, he took the silliness and made it entertaining and cool. Right. And so we get introduced to the Penguin early, and he's living in the sewers. There's all these rumors about the Penguin, and it's back in the day, so everything's newspaper, right?
Right.
Oh, the Penguin's living. He's trying to sell the newspaper to Alfred in the beginning. But long story short, I mean, they attack. They kind of have this town hall type of setup where the mayor's out there talking, and Penguin's gang attacks, right? Batman shows up, so we get to see Batman pretty early on. Some really, looking back now, some basic goofy action scenes, right? Like the tech is so funny. I mean, it's just shit just pops out from under the car. I love the big pillar in the car. Like, the car's facing the wrong way. It pushes the car up and spins back around. Like, dude, how much does that weigh? And how does he drive with? Like, it's fun stuff, dude.
Yeah. I mean, so unlike him jumping out of a Mach 3 jet, and flying down to battle a whole desert, of Kryptonians,
exactly.
Right? So far removed from that.
Absolutely, a little different from when we saw him in the Flash,
right?
And then Penguin kind of stages this mock rescue mission for the child. The mayor's baby's kidnapped, because obviously the mayor would just be standing there with his baby at this press conference, right? Here, take my baby. And then guy goes down to the sewer. Penguin comes up with this duck. Like, what's up with the duck, by the way?
I don't know.
What's up with penguins and ducks? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Maybe it's like mating.
Maybe, who knows? But he's got this little duck car that kind of propels up like a little elevator. Penguin saves the day, and Bruce Wayne is kind of watching on, and he's not sold. It's kind of first time we get to see Bruce. But you talked a lot, about Catwoman, Selena Kyle, Michelle Pfeiffer, and one of I think my favorite scene in this movie is when she turns into Catwoman.
Yeah. Selena Kyle, that's another one of those characters. I mean, she should be a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, because she's all over the place. She's very good at what she does. Even with or without that whole mystical, magical part.
Right, yeah.
Just the fact of who she is. I mean, she's kind of like the underground James Bond.
Yeah.
She does what she does. She's totally free-spirited. She does what she does because she wants to do it.
Right.
Have you seen the animation? It's like the world against
Catwoman Hunted or something.
Yeah.
I've not seen it yet.
Yeah,
no.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. You gotta watch that.
Check that one out.
Definitely a very powerful character, and like I said, Michelle Pfeiffer has been the best one out of even going back to the Bruce Adam Moore days. Eartha Kitt, I think back then.
Yep.
So. She just did it for you.
Yeah, you're right, dude. Even in that 60s Adam West series, Catwoman was cool as shit.
Yeah.
And this is one where, kind of what you're talking about earlier, it is a very different take on Catwoman, but it does capture the essence of the character.
Wait a minute. Eartha Kitt wasn't the first one. Merriweather, I think. She was taller.
Was it Kathy or something?
Something, I think, Merriweather. We'll look it up.
Yeah.
For next time.
We're not experts here. Exactly. See, we don't even fucking know who plays who. We know we like it.
Right.
We know we like comics.
Exactly.
We got that part down.
Some woman played Catwoman before Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes, 100%. I agree. Thumbs up. Hit them all. And she's probably a hidden gem.
Right.
But the real reason why I didn't get through this movie this week, Adrian, because I was telling you last night, or I was telling you that last night I watched it, fell asleep, woke up, had to rewatch it, was because I attempted to watch it 3 or 4 times, and like you say, you always start at the same time.
Right.
every time I go to rewatch it, I'm like, I got to watch the Catwoman scene again. And I start there, watch it, and then I end up getting distracted and doing something else. Then the next day I go, all right, I got to watch it before we do our show.
Right.
And I start it back at the Catwoman scene and watch it again. So, but this scene, as a kid, as a, 7, 8-year-old kid, this scene creeped the shit out of me.
Really?
Yeah, like the music and something about her cutting up the stuffed animal. And, dude, what's so cool about it is, I like when they do stuff like this in movies. It's kind of a mirror shot of what just happened. She leaves the office. She's Shrek's assistant. And it's so funny, too, because, like, it's so old school. You remember the scene where Shrek's in this business meeting, and they're talking about whatever, and then she has an idea. Now, she's the secretary.
Right.
And he's like, apparently we haven't trained her yet. Like, like how dare you have an opinion? You're just a secretary.
I find it amazing that stuff was even going on back then.
Yeah.
Because they definitely did it, further back. Let's just say further back. You know, it's just that women had no rights at all. And I mean, everybody, they slept with them, with the secretaries in this case, right?
Yeah.
But as far as any kind of power or authority, they just had none. And I find it amazing that even then, I think I was 92. I was still in the Navy then.
Yeah.
So, but besides the fact that I could only watch it when I could watch it,
right?
It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene, the secretary scene.
Yeah, you see that, and then even when Bruce Wayne shows up and she's not there, he's just like, "I'd offer you coffee, but my assistant's not here. Like, you can't even make the coffee."
Exactly.
It's just funny, like little shit like that.
Right.
But so, Selena leaves, she goes home, and then the apartment, the design of the whole apartment, like everything's like this muted pink almost like Pepto-Bismol color. And I really like Tim Burton's use of like color palettes, and when you have a good director like that, and you're just not throwing anyone in there to make the movie. I love when it's a comic movie, but they let the directors do their thing.
Right.
It doesn't have to fit this mold, and there was no mold back then to fit. But we see a lot of this now. It's like you have to do a superhero movie like this instead of like, we talked about Logan. I think one of the best aspects of that is they just let the director do his thing.
Well, sometimes, letting the director do their things hasn't worked out well.
Well, they got to be a good director.
Exactly. Russo brothers, definitely.
Yep. Andy Muschietti, not so much.
Muschietti, Waititi, whatever his name is.
Taika. That's a perfect example. No. You let Taiki do his thing, but that goes back to you chose someone who was not a proven director yet.
Right.
Like Tim Burton's proven. Even at this time he was. But anyway, so, she goes home, the whole answer machine. I mean, it's very 90s, right? We all had answer machines in the 90s.
Right.
And then she left herself a message saying that, hey, if you didn't, if you forgot to bring the Bruce Wayne file home, you got to go back to the office. So she goes back to the office. Has this issue with Shrek because she unveils that she, opened the protected files. He goes, "Oh, how industrious of you!" I love the dialogue in this scene. And she's like,
so condescending.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then she sets herself up because she's talking about the power play and what she knows about it now. And she goes, it's a good idea, I'd say. He goes, well, who would you say this to? And he basically starts threatening her. Long story short, he pushes her out the window. She lands in the snow, and this is just a cool-ass scene. And you see a transformation of the character here because prior to this, she plays this kind of aloof secretary. Like, she's kind of a ditz. She's all disheveled. Even my daughter, she's 8. She was sitting there watching something with me, and she's like, "Daddy, her hair's a mess. Look at her. She's a hot mess."
Right.
But she plays that, and then she gets thrown out the window, and all these cats start showing up. And this is the part, like, as a kid, dude, it was like a little
creepy.
You get the creepy music, which is great, and even the color of the scene is kind of like a bluish tint. It's darker, and then, dude, the cats just come up and start nibbling on her fingers, and her fingers are bleeding. There's I want to say a lot, but for a PG-13 supposed to be kids movie, there's some blood in this movie.
Right.
It's not gory, but there's good use of blood. But you go from that scene to her going back home, and her return to the apartment literally mimics the scene prior, but now she's transformed into this kind of undead, and dude, she starts wrecking the apartment. She's, she's got the frying pan smashing shit. Dude, something about, and I can't even explain it now. As a kid, when she was shoving the fucking stuffed animals in the garbage disposal, dude, that just it made me feel like why is she doing this? You know, one part I still don't understand is the spray paint. She goes to the dollhouse and spray paints like one room and then just smashes it. But, you know, she makes her superhero costume in like 5 minutes.
Yep, of course.
And then she's transformed into this Catwoman. But, dude, I love this scene from start to finish.
Yeah.
And now, again, I was, you know, a lot younger than you when it came out as a kid, so I was like, holy shit. But how did you feel about this scene when you first saw it versus watching it again now?
I thought it was, I mean, even now, I mean, because even if you watch it now, it puts you in that mindset of when you first saw it.
Yep.
So even though it could be kind of not as galvanizing as things that are on screen today,
right,
it still puts you back into that frame of mind, and it kind of still affects you the same way. Now, PG-13. Was it PG-13 because it was a PG-13 movie, or was it PG-13 because it was PG-13 back then? Because they got away with a lot of stuff back then. I mean, unless there was like nudity on it, or somebody, you know, show somebody blowing somebody brains out on the wall. You know, it wasn't a rated R movie. No, so you could get away with a bunch of stuff back then. Yeah. Yep. So I mean, it wasn't rated R for extreme stuff. Right. That would be like, you know, TVMA today probably. Sure. You know, so I think it was PG-13 because it wasn't that times rated R version. So.
Correct. Yeah, no, you're right. I think nowadays they'd had to probably tone it down a little bit to get that PG-13 rating. Yeah. Because there was a lot of like innuendo. There was even just a lot of straight up sexual references. Like, I mean, I think Penguin straight up said at one time, like, we should get naked and do sexual things. Like, whoa, bro, this is fucking PG-13, dude. What are you doing? We're not PG-13 here. But, yeah, so you're right. There's a lot of kind of just little nuanced things that were really geared more towards adults. And, again, even the blood, you usually don't see much of any blood in the PG-13 movie. Right. And it definitely, we saw some of that here. But, yeah, it was, but you're right. It does bring you back to those feelings of when you first saw it. So, it's a scene that I can't put that movie on and not watch it. Like I have to watch that scene. It's just it's crazy.
It's like, hey, be quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody shh. Yeah, it's that scene. It's that scene.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So, and I mean, I love everything about her portrayal. Yeah, I love how the attitude shifts. Like she literally plays two different characters in this movie: the pre-dead Selena, and then the post, and it's just night and day.
Well, I mean, that's the way those personalities should be portrayed, but the fact that how she pulled it off made it just so, like it's so stark, so very night and day-ish. Right. So I mean, her acting of that character. That's what I mean by choosing the right actor actress for, the character. Yeah. You know, when you can pull that character off to where, like, you know, Catwoman equals, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michelle Pfeiffer equals Catwoman. You know, what's his name? Superman.
Oh, Clark.
Yeah. I mean the last guy that played him. Oh, Henry Cavill. Yep. Henry Cavill equals, you know, Boseman equals. I mean, when you say the equals and a character automatically pops in your head, that's when that person has just like made that character. Absolutely. You know, Robert Downey equals, you know, those kind of things. So that her portrayal of it, even back then, was just like, that's the shit.
It's iconic, dude. And how'd you feel about the Catwoman suit?
That was cool.
Yeah. Very different in the comics.
Very, very different in the comics. It was more, I would call it stealthy for back then, but she wore it well. Dude, and it made sense.
Yes.
You know,
I think it made sense. It fit her portrayal of that character.
Right.
She was very seductive, I mean, a lot of the sexual overtones came from her character. Right. I mean, just even a little when she goes to stop the guy from robbing the girl, and he turns around and she's like, "Be gentle. It's my first time." Like little shit like that. That as a kid, that just went over your head. As an adult, you're like, "Oh shit, that's funny." Yep. And then when she claws the guy, now it's a really poor use of blood because you just get like blood drips, but just seeing that, claw on his face, the idea of doing that. But it was yeah, I loved everything about the character. Even the I think what was cool about this movie too is you got to see the origins of two villains done very well. Right. Because even Penguin, I mean, he was He was gross, especially
Right.
when they first found him.
Right.
When he had just that bodysuit
Oh
on.
my
And
God, dude.
dude, my daughter's looking at it. She's like, "Daddy, is that guy really that fat? That's gross."
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, that's a." She's like, "That's a fat suit, huh?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
But it, yeah, it was. And then, he kind of brokers this deal with Shrek, and they're working together, and they have the idea that Cobblepot's going to be the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And what was cool is, if you remember, you talked about him eating the fish. That's how he lured him out of that. Because now he has this apartment above the office, I guess.
Right.
And Shrek kind of lures him out with the fish. And dude, Danny DeVito is going to town on this fish.
Oh my dude, I'm just cringing thinking about
There's
it.
another
again.
scene that, as a kid, dude, it was gross to me, but it's like a train wreck.
You can't
look
not
away.
watch. Yep.
Because, you're like, you want to know what's going to happen next. So he's he's walking down the stairs eating this fish, and they have this big party plan for him he's now going to become mayor. And if you remember, the posters had an illustration of Penguin with the top hat and the whole suit, and we hadn't seen him in this getup yet. So they're kind of foreshadowing that. And he's got these kind of like some publicists or whatever working with him. The girl's like trying to take the fish away from him. And then, dude, this part, the nose. My man my guy had to make a joke, right? He's like, "Oh, there's not a lot of reflective surfaces down, in the sewer." And the thing about Penguin is he ain't no dummy.
Right.
He's sharp, because he picked up on it, and he starts laughing, and then he goes, "It could be worse. At least my nose isn't bleeding." And the guy's like, "What are you talking about?" And dude, my man just comes up and bites his nose, or he said, "At least my nose isn't gushing blood." And dude, he bites down on his nose, and sure as shit, blood's all gushing out. Like, dude, as a kid, that scene was a little dramatic. Bro.
Right. I mean, Penguin was a savage.
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up without all the checks and balances that a normal child has.
Right.
So he just don't care.
No. Yeah, dude, that scene, that's another one that's up there. That where, again, I couldn't look away, but it was a little disturbing as a kid, like someone biting. Like, listen, I've been in fights, especially as a kid. I've seen people punched, get broken noses, but I've never seen anyone bite someone's nose like an animal.
Right.
I've never seen that.
I mean, there's the Tyson Holyfield thing.
Yeah,
but that was later.
That came a little later, and that was the year. At least, yeah. Imagine if he bit his nose.
Oh my God, that would be.
That's crazy. But that was so. You get to see both of these villains kind of transform, and then we do eventually see Penguin in the whole get up with the top hat, which is a badass look.
Right.
I mean, Danny DeVito pulled that off.
That's another. So not only do you get to see these two characters, their origin, but you see them both transform.
Right.
One from this nobody basically to this badass, super thief pretty much, and then Penguin from this animal, basically, to now this preppy looking, whatever he was. I mean, mentally he was still that animal.
Yeah.
But Selena, her mind actually transformed.
Right.
Penguin, his look transformed. He was still the Penguin though.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we see a nice little team up between Catwoman and Penguin. I love the introduction of Catwoman to those two as well. If you remember, this is where Batman first sees Penguin in his whole getup. They're kind of going back and forth verbally and, basically challenging each other. Basically, like, I'm going to stop you, whatever. But as this is happening, Catwoman rigs this store to blow up, right? She, loosens up the gas deal, does whatever. She heads out. Batman and Penguin are kind of just standing on the street corner talking shit. And she comes doing, backflips, leads up to them, out of breath, and just like, meow. And then like a few seconds later, the shit blows up. Like, dude, it's just so good.
Right.
And they're both kind of looking at each other like, yo, is she with you? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And then so we kind of see like, that's where this little discourse starts, and then we see Batman and Catwoman fighting on rooftops. Very so as much as I said it's not the most comic accurate version of these characters, it does draw from some really good comics. Like, how many times have we seen Batman and Catwoman on a rooftop fighting, chasing each other, going back and forth? So we see that here, which I thought was a really cool scene.
Right. I mean, they pretty much always on a rooftop.
Yeah.
Doing something. One's chasing the other one, Batman's always chasing her.
He's chasing her, yeah.
She's always luring him to someplace.
Yeah.
Whether to get away from him or to lure him to someplace.
Right.
But it's pretty much always on a rooftop.
Yeah.
But those kind of scenes, the comedy in it, them two on the street talking or whatever, she's backflipping over to them, meow. I mean, that's good writing.
Yes.
Not pretty much no CGI back then,
No.
right? Or no green screen crap and all this other whatever they got, all this AI stuff. There was just good movie writing, good acting, and it just made sense,
right?
And they don't have a lot of that now. They try to make everything artificial and powers and suits and stealth and all this other kind of crap. Just get back to the basics, and you'll still have a great movie.
Right?
Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Everything, real practical effects. The budget for this movie was between 50 and 80 million.
Right.
Not like now where there's 200 million, which that was a big budget back then.
Oh yeah.
And at the box office, it did 266 million. We're talking 92 though.
Right.
Nowadays a movie like this would have done probably $1 billion.
Right.
I think. But anyway, so you talk about the set design. There's no CGI, but this Gotham City looks amazing in this movie.
Right.
I mean, that whole kind of what would you call it? Gothic almost looking, like
that whole gritty. Yeah. But it made sense. It wasn't just dark.
Right.
It's like today stuff is just dark.
Right.
Back then it was like they played on the shadows and you could see stuff in it, and it just made sense.
Yep.
As opposed to, well, what was that in that corner, or what is that?
Kind of like
just
very
weird.
Almost like Art Deco style.
Yeah.
It was just really cool looking. I think that was the best Gotham we had until the latest Gotham in the Batman.
Yeah.
Because the one thing about I love the Dark Knight movie just as much as the next. Well, maybe you like it a little more than me, but I hated Gotham in that movie. Mm-hmm. It was just shot in like Pittsburgh or Chicago.
Right.
It was just a city.
Right.
It had no idea. Like Gotham is its own character.
Exactly.
In that movie, it could have been any American major city.
I like that. It's like Gotham is a DC character.
Yep, it's a hidden gem.
I like that. That actually makes
Gotham
sense.
could be your hidden gem. It's better than most DC characters.
Right.
Would Gotham defeat Superman?
Probably.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, just swallow him up. Never to be seen again.
Absolutely. But I really love Gotham in this. And the other thing I watching this made me realize, dude, Michael Keaton's Batcave was badass.
Yeah.
That's another that we've not seen. I mean, Christopher Nolan's movies were very like reality based, so I can't even. It's not a down for those movies, but Christopher Nolan took the stance of, if Batman existed in our world, this is how it would be. Right. There's not a lot of supernatural shit. Even like the Scarecrow is all based off the toxins. He's not really a creature.
Right.
I mean, Ra's al Ghul died. Like he's not. There's no. I don't believe there was a Lazarus pit in this movie or any of them. It was very practical.
Right.
And this is the opposite of that. So the Batcave I thought was phenomenal. It looked a lot like the ones in the comics.
It was like a kid's delight.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, first of all, we got the Batman on big screen, but that Batcave was that thing,
Yep.
So it's almost like finding a Tron, toy in the store back in the day. They used to sell them things in grocery stores, dude.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't have like comic book stores back then.
Yeah,
so
true.
we bought our comics out of pharmacies.
Yep.
Back then, the pharmacy was a pharmacy, not a grocery store with a pharmacy in it. It was a pharmacy. So we bought our comics in pharmacies and our toys out of grocery stores.
Okay.
So,
dude,
that whole dynamic, dude.
It was funny you say that. In the 90s, I shared this with you before. I read most comics in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because I didn't buy many of them. Mm-hmm. But I would go grocery shopping with my mom, and they had a little turnstile that had comics on it. And every week we would go, especially in the summers when I wasn't in school, and I would read every comic on that turnstile. And I would keep up with stories by going to the grocery store to read the new issues, Yeah. But, it's not like it is now.
No. Dedicated stores for the toys and the comics.
Yep.
And not a comic in a grocery store or pharmacy to be seen.
No. Nope.
Crack and fentanyl, but no comics.
Yeah, but no comics. God. That'll be a good podcast. Only crack. No.
Right.
Dude, the Batmobile. How'd you feel about this Batmobile?
I mean, for then, it was cool.
Yeah.
I actually like the Adam Ward Batmobile.
Adam West?
Adam West.
The black and red one?
Yeah, the black and red. I like that one, and I like the Tumbler.
Yeah.
All the other stuff. I mean, I actually like Robert Pattinson's
muscle car
because it made sense. It makes sense
yeah.
for him year one, year two.
Yep.
For him it looked like he built it as opposed to, I mean, Bruce Wayne is a smart guy,
right?
But him to spend that kind of time in a cave,
he's not gonna do
building all this stuff, the Robert Pattinson Batmobile was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but the first one, Adam West. Why do I keep calling him Ward? It's like
Burt Ward was Robin. That's what it is.
That's what it is. So the Adam West Batmobile, it was, to me, was iconic. It's still one of my favorites. And then the Tumbler. So
yeah, did you see it at the Comic-Con last year? They had it there.
No.
Yep. They was it last year or the year before? They a lot of times they bring that exact Batmobile there.
Really?
It's cool as shit.
The Adam West one?
Yep, the Adam West one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
It's iconic, man. I mean, it's like it started it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you know there was I think it's like a Mexican version of Batwoman?
No.
It's funny, dude. It's
Really?
like from the
It's like a parody.
late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. It's you could watch you could watch the girl that plays the Batwoman.
Okay. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, I really like this Batmobile for the look. I mean, some of the little gadgets and stuff are a little wacky, but like you know, the pillar that spins the car around,
dude,
or the armor. You know, you could see alarm and the whole thing covers like a turtle shell.
Yeah. Dude, I mean that thing must have weighed like 10,000 pounds. Or
what kind of gas mileage that thing?
Exactly, like negative.
Yeah, negative.
Yeah. You had to have Robin. You never saw Robin because he was running next to the Batmobile with a gas tank as the thing going down the street.
Yeah, but I think the look of this one is one of those iconic Batmobiles. This is one where, for these movies, the first two had the same Batmobile, and then they switched up and they brought in Val Kilmer, George Clooney. They changed the Batmobile each time, and I think it got worse each time.
Yeah.
But I like this one. The scene with Penguin's crew going in and kind of rewiring the Batmobile and taking control of it, dude. It feels like that Adam West type of, issue, right? Like it's funny and it's something that would happen on a TV show.
Right.
So yeah, that part. And then you have Penguin in like the little arcade car driving, taking over the Batmobile. Because, with Penguin, see the thing about a lot of Batman villains, it's not always about, this guy he's a better fighter, he can outpower me. There's a psychological aspect to a lot of his villains. Like, dude, in a straight-up fight, Batman's going to destroy Penguin.
Exactly.
But it's all this other shit.
And he knew that. And he knows that. He does. Penguin's power isn't, his physical strength.
Correct.
It's his ability to manipulate, to be places where, most people can't be. Right. And also just the severity of his mental. He's just mental. I mean, he's just brute force through a lot of stuff.
Right.
Mentally.
Yep. So, yeah. This movie wrapped up to, I think probably one of the weaker spots to this movie. Like the endings, it's a little messy for me. All the shit underground with the penguins and, Max Schreck is there, Catwoman. It's like, I know they tried to tie it all back together. I think this movie would have benefited from like maybe another 10 minutes to kind of flesh out some of that stuff. Right. But at the time, this movie was just over 2 hours, which I think was long at the time.
Right.
I mean, nowadays the Batman's a 3-hour movie.
Right.
It don't even feel like it because it rolls. I mean, we talked about Avengers, Endgame. Some of these movies are 2.5 hours. I think this movie would have benefited from it didn't need to be that long, maybe an extra 10 minutes.
Right.
Because it felt like they had all this stuff going. And then they had to rush to wrap it up in this underground scene where it was messy at times. Dude, one of the parts that even as a kid I hated was the way Batman takes off his mask. He just ripped the rubber mask off. So you're just wearing this rubber suit that anyone can rip off?
Right. I mean, I don't think they thought about, because what happens with as the comic book universe evolves, especially with the internet, you get more input from the readers and the viewers.
Yeah, true.
And they were like, dude, how can Bruce Wayne be? Because when they first created these characters, they were, whatever they could do or whatever boundaries they set was by the writer, the artist, and all this other kind of stuff. But when you got other people start telling you, dude, this millionaire goes around with a mask. I mean, he can be going by a clothesline and a clothespin could catch his mask and pull it off. That kind of it's not congruent with who the Batman is.
Yep.
So I think over time from the input, they made it like to the point where, you can't take his suit off or you get shocked if you touch him, trying to pull it off, and, all these other mechanical things that would protect Bruce Wayne's identity. I think they got all that input from the fans and
Probably.
stuff. But back then, it was like, just this guy.
Yeah, just had to try shit and see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah, and you wouldn't hear you couldn't get the feedback as quick as you do now.
Exactly.
And I think, a lot of studios and creators have, acknowledged that we do listen. We don't listen to every single fan, but we do listen to what the fans are saying. Because at the end of the day, it's not that you don't have to give them exactly what they want, but you do want your fans to like what you put out, right? So
exactly.
Don't let us control you, but also listen to what we're saying sometimes.
Right.
And another big part of this movie that I liked was the Selena Bruce dynamic, because in a lot of the better Batman Catwoman stories, you see that kind of duality there.
Right.
And one scene in particular where it came after their first fight. So if you remember when they fought the first time, she was like feeling on his suit, and then she found like where she could feel his body and freaking stabbed him with the claws. Right. And then he threw like some napalm at her and like burned. Also, early on in the movie, Batman killed this dude when he puts the dynamite in his pants. And smiles and throws them in the fucking sewer and it blows up. Like, dude, Tim Burton's Batman was a killer.
Yep.
A little different.
Just like Ben
Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Yeah. I saw that movie again. I'm like, wait a minute, this dude's killing everybody.
Yeah. Left and right. Well, hey, see, now if you listen to the fans, don't do that with Batman.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we, eternally will bitch about the whole no kill rule, but it's partly what makes Batman Batman. It makes him flawed to some people. It adds a level of complexity to the character.
Right.
If he's just gonna kill everyone, like, well, he might as well just be Wolverine. You know.
Exactly.
But I like that, and then we saw that come back to kind of not haunt them, but Selena's at Bruce's house. They're kind of making out, and then I think he goes to kind of pull her shirt back, and then she moves because she doesn't want him to see the napalm scar. And then she like kind of touches his area where and then he stops, and they're both kind of like, we can't do this.
Right.
So they're figuring out kind of who they are, or they're so concerned with hiding their identity that it causes them not to be able to kind of go to the next level, which is very Bruce and Selena.
Right. I mean, I've always loved that dynamic. Between those two characters, the whole chase thing, the hunt and chase, the fact that they actually get together at some point, and it's also disappointing that they actually don't get to that next level. It's kind of bittersweet, because if they did get to that next level, would they be like a crime fighting duo, or would they just lay down, the cowl, and would they become like regular people? Yeah, because they were heavily in love at some point, but it's like it almost got in the way of their identities.
Yes,
because I think Selena is more Catwoman than she is Selena.
Yes,
or maybe at the very least she's both, very grounded in both. Yeah, whereas Bruce Wayne is Batman all the time. So. But I love the characters together. Yeah.
So this is a fun movie to rewatch. And it's one that some parts of it don't age well, but a lot of it did. I think it's testament to the whole practical shooting aspect. Like there's no shitty CGI from the '90s or whatever they could or couldn't do then. But I like it. It feels Tim Burton-esque. Last thing I'll say about the Catwoman piece, I like the end callback with the whole taser. If you remember early on in the movie, Batman saves her, and the guy who was trying to rob her or whatever drops a taser, which she keeps, and then she ends up killing Shrek with it. She kind of kisses him with the taser and uses another one of her 9 lives. Right. But then we see at the end she's still alive. Batman's actually, Bruce and Alfred go looking for her. And she's not there, but then we kind of see a scene of her, back of her head looking up to the moonlight or whatnot. But all in all, dude, I enjoyed this movie. It had some goofiness to it. Like, for example, when the bat symbol shows up in the sky, Wayne Manor also shoots a bat symbol inside the house. So you mean no one knows he's Batman? He's got fucking bat lights all around his house. Right. But I guess it's a comic book movie. What are you gonna do?
Hey, what are you gonna do?
But let's score this. Or anything else to say about the movie?
Well, actually one of my favorite parts was, like you said, like the big metal piece drops out from the bottom of the car. That thing's got to be. That's like half the car in order to pull that maneuver. So it was kind of cool back then. Yeah. And you can't really detract from the movie because of it,
Right.
because it was made back then.
Sure.
But I mean, you could say it's silly, but it was also kind of a cool scene.
It was.
know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, your car like just spins right on the.
Yeah. That's a good point. A lot of the stuff that's silly now is silly because of the other tech we've seen in movies.
Exactly.
At the time, this was like, cutting edge stuff.
Right.
Like the Batarang that, he remote Batarangs and picks out the 4 people and just has like 4 people that light up. He throws and it takes all of them out. Like it. Obviously, if they did it now, it looks so much cooler. Mm-hmm. But that's a cool idea, and it was done to the best that they could at the time.
Right.
Yep. Last thing I'd ask you, how'd you feel about, I keep saying it's not the last thing because I'm going to ask you to score this, but last thing about the movie, what about the bat suit?
I thought it was cool. I mean, the whole cowl thing was like, I'm like, can you even hold your head up?
You can barely move your
I
neck
mean,
in
it was thick.
Yeah.
It was thick. But outside of that, I thought it was pretty
The look
cool.
was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that was the first time that we saw like an all black Batman. Because in the comics, he's always been, kind
Gray.
of blue and gray, right, for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but I want to say that after these series of movies, that's when we started seeing more of the darker bat suits in the comics. I think this was a very impactful movie for the Batman character. I think it changed a lot of who he was afterwards.
Well, I think a lot of it is because, I mean, you have to look at the actors.
Yeah.
These actors aren't well-built men, right?
Yeah.
So they have to make the suit more tactile,
right?
Or technical.
Yeah.
And more strategic to make the superhero version look more like the superhero. Mm-hmm. Because Michael Keaton, I mean, they're like scrawny dudes that walk around, play tennis all day, or once a year or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, their bodies don't equate to the Batman, so they have to make the suits look more like the Batman, which has been the trend.
Right.
So they started bringing personalities into the comic book more so than someone that could actually play, the Batman or the Superman. I mean, Henry Cavill was the first one that actually looked like a Superman. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But up until then, they had to do the padding and, like Homelander. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So I think the suits changed because they had to make them look more like the character. Yeah. More so than any other reason.
Yeah, and I like it. I like the black look, the black and the yellow. I love the way it plays off. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a cool looking suit.
Right.
They changed the bat symbol if you remember in Batman '89, it kind of had like 2 extra little loops at the bottom. Like the bottom of the bat symbol looked weird in the first one for some reason. Mm-hmm. They changed it for this, and they used that kind of, or maybe that's what became that iconic bat symbol.
Right.
But yeah, I like the cowl. I mean, they've also said that you literally can't move your neck in it.
Right.
But the high pointy ears, like when they're done right, they look right, and I like it on this costume. Mm-hmm. It was good. Well, all right, let's if you were to score this movie, Adrian, out of 10, I'm gonna give it an 8.
I was thinking the same thing because so much has changed, and it's kind of hard. It's unfair, but it's kind of hard to not compare it to all the things that's happened before then.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with you on the 8.
All right, we're gonna do a little rundown real quick. So, Gotham City in this movie, I'm gonna give that a thumbs up.
Yep, I agree.
Batman suit, I give that a thumbs up.
Minus the cowl, but I mean, for then, I give it a thumbs up as well.
I mean, I'm probably gonna be like thumbs up across the board. Like Catwoman's portrayal, thumbs up, definitely. The way the Batmobile, thumbs up.
Yep.
The Batcave, like 10 thumbs up.
Yep.
And now there was a lot of controversy with this movie too. Mm-hmm. So this movie was deemed too dark, and McDonald's, there was some issues with McDonald's because there were toys that Batman Returns toys were released at McDonald's and Happy Meals and whatnot that summer. And then McDonald's was criticized for this move because parents, they were upset about the movie. They said it was too dark for kids. A lot of the scenes that we're talking about, the Catwoman scene, the biting of the nose, the fit, a lot of the sexual undertones, the parents were writing letters. They were all upset. And then it got to the point where they actually stopped putting out the Batman toys. Mm-hmm. And then the WB, Warner Brothers, decided to move away from Tim Burton. He was supposed to do another movie. Mm-hmm. They decided to move away from him because it was too dark and odd for them. Then they brought in Joel Schumacher, who completely just fucking shit all over this franchise. I mean, we've seen Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. They're atrocious movies.
Yep.
Now they were funny at the time, but they were more akin to that Adam West type of Batman. So now you seeing this, do you think that this was too dark to be a kid's movie?
No, not at all.
No.
I think it did a lot. I mean, it was one of the better ones as far as cinematography, meaning like it wasn't so dark like they are now, where you can't even see people moving in the street. But no, I don't think it was. I would have never. This is my first time hearing that part.
Really?
That the parents, kind of was all upset about it.
It was a whole thing, dude.
But back then, again, we're talking about the times.
Right.
It would probably be considered a rated R movie back then, except their version of rated R was even more grittier.
Right.
Like I said, their version of rated R would probably be our TVMA today. So I'm surprised about the parent thing, and I didn't know it, but I don't think it was a kids movie. I don't think it was offensive like that. To kids.
No. I think maybe now McDonald's Happy Meal age kids, maybe it was too much for them. Well, now here's the thing: it is a PG-13 movie.
Right.
Who buys Happy Meals? 13-year-olds don't usually eat Happy Meals anymore. They're usually too. My son's there; he don't eat Happy Meals, so he's eating a lot more than that. So it's like 5 and 6-year-olds are eating Happy Meals. It probably was wrong for that demographic.
Sure.
And it also, as much as it grossed over close to $300 million, but the first Batman movie with Jack Nicholson as Joker grossed like $400 million. So they did say it was somewhat of a disappointment there.
Right.
And the executives at Warner Brothers said that it was too dark and it's not a lot of fun. I say the movie is a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I actually, let me ask you this: is Batman Returns better than Batman?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like I think the Jack Nicholson Joker portrayal hasn't aged that well. And I think that Penguin and Catwoman are much better characters than Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Absolutely.
Especially now we've had the Heath Ledger version. I mean, Jared Leto's that. They should take the Jared Leto version, throw it in the sewer with the guy with the dynamite in his pants.
Right.
I mean, just throw it all that shit down there. But I'm saying 8. You agree with 8?
Yeah, 8. Yeah. I'll do 8.
Now, the most important question of all, Adrian. Now that we've gone through our deep dive, you have agreed to this in the past, so I want to see if you've changed your stance.
Okay.
The last question of the day, for you guys and for Adrian, you already know my answer. Is Batman Returns a Christmas movie?
No.
Okay. Well, we're going to agree to disagree. What do y'all say? Is Batman Returns a Christmas movie? I don't know. For me, it is. Either way, it was a hell of a ride. It was an enjoyable movie, and I can't wait to watch it again next Christmas. And that's where I stop. I'm not going to watch Batman Forever and the other ones because the less we say about that, the better. But here you have it. Another week on Only Comics, Adrian. You say, no, it's not a Christmas movie.
No.
But it's been a fun episode. So, hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to y'all that are watching. Happy holidays to y'all that don't celebrate Christmas and everything all in between. Either way, enjoy your day. Enjoy your family. We appreciate y'all checking out Only Comics. This is our last episode of the year, right? Because if I know how the calendar works, I think next time we do this, it will be 2024, I believe. And if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry. Is that accurate? I see you checking over there. Adrian's going to confirm this for me.
You are well, I mean, the 31st is on a Sunday.
Okay. So we will record on the 31st and we will debut on the 1st. So New Year's Day, you'll get our next episode of Only Comics.
Yep.
So you need to kick off the new year with Mike and Adrian at Only Comics. There's no better place to kick off the new year.
Wow, that's amazing, right?
Right?
That's
it
amazing.
is.
Everybody, if you haven't liked, subscribed, all that stuff, this is the perfect time to do that. And be ready for us in 24.
Yep. And take one step further. Like, subscribe, and send it to a friend of yours as a Christmas gift.
Go.
Only Comics is the best Christmas gift you can give a comic fan, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
I agree.
You agree. Y'all agree too. It's been a great week. We'll see you next year, as they say, right here in Only Comics. Adrian, thanks for coming out.
Always.
All right, guys. We'll see you next year.